I am here, damn it. A 100-meter-tall black gorilla suddenly broke into the Xie border, but within 2 minutes the alarms blared. At the same time, it was locked onto by a 50-megaton nuclear warhead. Warning. Warning. Please leave Hua country territory immediately, but just as the nuke was about to be launched, the 100-meter-tall gorilla suddenly dropped to its knees, crying its eyes out, "Do not shoot. I am on your side." Then it blurted out its name and home address. It even recited its ID number with perfect clarity. It sniffled and wiped its nose. I am finally home. It turns out that 3 months ago, I transmigrated to another world and became a 100-meter-tall black gorilla. At first, I was pretty thrilled, thinking it was finally my turn to live the protagonist life. But little did I know, I did not inherit any memories from the original host, nor did I get any special legacy. Suddenly controlling such a massive body made it impossible for me to even walk properly. I starved for a whole month before I managed to get my first bite of food. Even the small animals in the forest picked on me. Tigers, lions. What the heck? Shoot. Giant beasts. Man, I have really had enough. Get out of here. Even a honey badger took a bite out of me. On top of that, there was no one to talk to. I was going crazy from the isolation until one day, I was drinking water by the river and suddenly saw a boat drifting down from upstream. Printed on the hull were the words "Made in Xia." My eyes instantly widened. I thought I was hallucinating. I rubbed my eyes furiously and looked again. That boat with "Made in Xia" on it was still floating there on the water. Tears just started pouring down my face. A gorilla does not shed tears lightly, unless its heart is truly broken. No one knows the hardships I have endured over these past few months, the suffering I have gone through, just for a bite to eat. I once lay motionless on the ground for weeks, and missing my family made my eyes well up in the dead of night. He even stood at the edge of a cliff, shouting at the mountains. I do not want to be a gorilla. I want to go home. I want my mom's home cooking. But things were different now. This lost gorilla finally found his direction. I wiped my tears away, staring at the boat with a burning gaze. I waded into the surging waves, aware of my massive size. He gently scooped the boat out of the water. The native merchants inside were startled at first. Then, seeing what a colossal beast I was, they were scared speechless. Where did this boat come from? Mr. Gorilla, this boat. We traded for it with a mysterious country called the Xia country. Xia country. Xia country is in this world too. Which direction? Tell me right now actually. Never mind. Even if you told me, I would not know the way. You would better just come with me. I do not know the way. Xia country. I can finally go home. What are your names? I am Hulk. When did Xia country arrive in this world? They suddenly appeared about 3 or 4 months ago. What do the people of Xie cultivate? They do not cultivate magic. Then what kind of weapons do they have? They only study something called science. And they possess a weapon that claims to make all beings equal. Between Xia country and our world, there is a barrier, separating the two realms. Not only that, the rules of their world are different from ours. The powerful creatures of our world who go there are weakened by more than just a tear. Holding the boat in the palm of my hand, I headed upstream along the river. But similarly, when the people from over there come here, they also suffer from the environmental differences. When I learned all this, my heart was pounding. Xia country was really here. Does not that mean my parents are here too? I miss my mom's cooking so much. Science Xia country. I finally had a destination. Filled with excitement, I walked for 2 straight months. When hungry, I ate grass to fill my stomach. When thirsty, I drank from the rivers. Finally one day, as I was marching forward with my head down, I seemed to have bumped into something, leaving a huge lump on my forehead. I looked up and saw a massive, semi-transparent barrier towering before me. Excitedly, I cracked my neck, then placed the boat from my palm onto the ground. Facing the barrier, I grabbed it with both hands and tore it open. The barrier let out a loud ripping sound, revealing a large hole and I squeezed through. As soon as I stepped in, I felt an immense pressure from the environment that sent me crashing straight to the ground. Even breathing became somewhat difficult. It took all my strength just to stand up, and I trudged forward step by step. But before long, ear-piercing alarms blared from the watchtowers on the ground. Over a dozen fighter jets roared in from the horizon. Artillery launchers were raised from the ground, with massive missiles ready to fire. Countless red laser sights dotted my body. Soon, an armored vehicle drove up on the ground. A middle-aged military officer stepped out. Mr. Behemoth, you have illegally trespassed into Jia territory. Please submit to our investigation immediately. Do not put up senseless resistance. Rest assured, Xia is a civilized nation. As long as you cooperate, we will treat you with leniency. But if you stubbornly resist, you will bear all the consequences. The officer waved his hand after speaking. The newly arrived rocket launcher vehicles instantly emitted a series of mechanical whirring sounds. Target locked. Ready to fire. This 100-meter-tall gorilla was a jungle overlord-level monster. It was used to throwing its weight around out there. Even if it could understand us, it probably would not care. We might need to use some real force, just like some countries 2 months ago. They respect power, not kindness. We have to hit it where it hurts, so it knows it messed up. Just as they were ready, the very next second, the officer's eyes widened in disbelief. In fact, everyone was utterly dumbfounded. They watched as the 100-meter-tall gorilla dropped to its knees with a massive thud. Teary-eyed, it raised its hands and yelled loudly, "Do not shoot. I am on your side." The giant gorilla wiped its runny nose. "I am finally back." Everyone was stunned. How does this behemoth speak Hua so fluently? And what did it mean by finally back? Clearing his throat, the middle-aged officer on the ground recovered from his shock. "Mr. Gorilla, please control your emotions. Also, I do not quite understand what you mean. Could you explain? I mean, I am originally from Xia country. A few months ago, for some unknown reason, I transmigrated into a gorilla." "Oh, right. My name is Lu Cheng." Hearing his question, I answered while wiping my tears. "My ID number is 23075. I live at No 3 Huxi Road, Longnan District, Yunhai City." Hearing this, the military personnel, after I explained the situation to the officer, he was stunned all over again. He looked up at the 100-meter-tall gorilla, opening his mouth but at a loss for words. This massive beast right before his eyes actually rattled off an address with such perfect clarity. Because of the barrier's influence, creatures from the other world generally knew very little about our country's internal info. "Lu Cheng, right. Try to calm down. I will send someone to verify your story right now, but for safety considerations, please wait outside the barrier." But as soon as I stood up, my legs gave out. Prolonged starvation had left me with less than 1/10 of my strength, coupled with the suppression from the world's supreme rules. The moment I relaxed, just standing back up was incredibly difficult. Seeing this, the officer frowned, grabbed his walkie-talkie and said something. A moment later, 7 or 8 helicopters roared over to me. The cabin doors opened, and 7 or 8 live bulls were dropped out. Looking at them, my stomach instantly started rumbling. I scarfed them down, one bite at a time. Dozens of seconds later, all the bulls were completely gone, but I did not even feel the slightest bit full, as if I had eaten nothing at all. This beef contained very little energy, almost identical to the grass out there. The officer noticed my confusion. The flora and fauna here have very little magic energy, so they generally do not fill you up. But do not worry. Experts from the Research Institute are on their way. They are bringing our latest power supply system. Power supply system? For what? I was a bit confused. You will see when they get here. It will definitely fill you up. The officer chuckled, continuing to explain. A couple of months ago, a 50-meter giant python trespassed here, having lost all its magic by the time we found it. It had already fallen into a deep coma. All medical treatments failed, but later we discovered it reacted to the current from a defibrillator. After multiple tests, we found that it could absorb electrical energy and convert it into magic. It has the exact same effect as food, so charging you up will make you full. Getting full from charging, that is so lame. Lacking magic, just plug in and recharge. That makes absolutely 0 sense. I could not help but complain after hearing that. But considering transmigration, the most absurd thing had already happened. What else could not happen? Soon, a heavy transport helicopter landed nearby. 3 or 4 people in white lab coats stepped out. They first looked up at me, shock flashing in their eyes. They did not expect this colossal gorilla to be the patient they were treating. It was practically a mountain. Its build was way bigger than that giant python. In front of this gorilla, that python was nothing more than a little snake. If it fully recovered, who knows what level of power it could reach. Even a low-yield nuke probably would not kill it. Following that, the men wheeled over a massive battery bank. They handed over 220V power cables. I stuck both cables straight into my mouth. As the current constantly surged into my body, I comfortably stretched my limbs. Not bad, charging actually worked. After a moment, I felt the current was a bit too weak, so I took a deep, forceful inhale through the cables. Ah, that is the stuff. Huge electrical sparks traveled up the wires. I closed my eyes and lay down comfortably, but maybe my energy needs were just too huge. The battery box barely lasted a few minutes before letting out a burning smell. The power supply stopped as well. I opened my eyes, grabbed the busted battery box, and swallowed it in one gulp. Corroded by my stomach acid, the electricity inside the box violently erupted. Massive amounts of power surged through my whole body. In just a few short breaths, the influx of energy was several times greater than before, but it still was not enough. I looked down at the researchers who looked about the size of bugs. Not enough, got any more. Bring it on. I was just starting to feel it. The researchers below had been stunned since the box started smoking. Then, seeing me swallow the battery box whole, they were utterly bewildered. That battery box held 100,000 kilovolt amperes. That is enough to power a second-tier city for over an hour. And he downed it in a few bites. An older researcher snapped back to reality and grabbed his phone. Bring 2 more 100,000 class boxes. No, bring me 10 of them. Soon, 10 100,000 class battery boxes were flown in by helicopters, and I swallowed every single one of them in huge gulps. Massive electric currents coursed through my body. Gradually, my depleted muscles swelled with power. My lost strength had returned. After eating my fill, a wave of drowsiness washed over me. I collapsed to the side and fell fast asleep, using a nearby small mountain peak as a pillow. Meanwhile, inside the 749 bureau, are you telling me my son turned into a gorilla? And a 100-meter tall one at that. Ludian sat in his chair, staring blankly at Colonel Wang Li. He felt like he was dreaming. Early this morning, top local officials had visited their home. Your son is currently overseeing a highly classified operation. He is under a lot of psychological stress and urgently needs his family by his side. Upon hearing this, the couple could not sit still and immediately rushed to the secret base. Little did they know this stress was so immense that it actually turned their son from a human into a 100-meter tall gorilla. I am seriously wondering if I am losing my mind. How can a perfectly normal person turn into a gorilla? Cut it out. You guys must be pulling my leg. But after the couple watched the gorilla's video footage, that really looks like our Cheng. He always had a habit of touching his earlobes. I can't believe he still does it even as a gorilla. Commander, when can we see him? We can't be entirely sure just by watching the tape. It is best if we can see him up close. Hearing their request, Wang Li immediately brought them to where I was sleeping. Perhaps a subconscious feeling woke me from my slumber. Seeing my parents, he instantly rushed over, excitedly wanting to give them a bear hug, but Wang Li frantically waved his hands to stop me. I then realized I was no longer my old self. Standing over 100 meters tall, my spread arms could wrap around a small mountain. Who could possibly survive a bear hug from me? Are you really our Cheng? Of course I am. I really am Lu Cheng. Where did you hide my secret stash of cash? Behind the toilet. Where else? Inside the lining of your slippers. Is cilantro your mom's favorite food? No, you are the one who likes cilantro. Once, on your wedding anniversary, you forgot that mom does not eat cilantro, and you cooked an entire table full of cilantro dishes. She was so mad she kicked you out of the house. It is really him. This is my son. Lu Tian and his wife's faces lit up with joy. They had not heard from their son in months. Although he had turned into a giant black gorilla, it was better than being dead. Wang Li also looked relieved. Since Lu Cheng's parents confirmed it was their son, then there should not be any issue. He then left the area, giving the reunited family some privacy. until 9 p.m. Lu Tian posted a picture of his son as a 100-meter gorilla. On his WeChat Moments, Wang Li immediately showed up at their door. Just now, National Security noticed you posted on Moments, saying your son turned into a gorilla. Lu Tian instantly realized he had leaked a state secret. I will delete it right now. It is fine. I have already had the tech department block it. I am mainly here for another matter. Regarding Lu Cheng's identity, I want to discuss this with you. After some discussion, the government has decided not to disclose Lu Cheng's human identity. He will be officially integrated into Xia country as a giant gorilla. Will he still be able to come home then? This will help us avoid a lot of unnecessary trouble. I hope you can cooperate with us on this. In public, I want you to maintain your distance from Lu Cheng. Of course, in private, you can do whatever you like. He himself has already agreed to this. He even chose a new name for himself, Kong. So we will refer to him as Mr. Kong. Although Lu Tian felt it was a bit inappropriate, he agreed for the sake of safety. Meanwhile, Professor Huang from the Research Institute, with my consent, drew some of my blood to take back for research. But after a few days of studying it, they were completely clueless. So someone suggested to Professor Huang, I heard that some ancient factions overseas possess a secret technique. They can refine behemoth blood using this method, allowing their native humans to gain a portion of a behemoth's power. These people are known as behemoth warriors. We happen to have a several dozen meter long black dragon at our border. It is planning to sell refined behemoth blood to some illegal organizations in our country. Maybe we can run a sting operation. We can legally confiscate the refined blood and study its secrets. Let us do it. Hearing this, Professor Huang immediately approved the plan. Although the Black Dragon's bloodline is noble, it is only a few dozen meters big. Our gorilla is over 100 meters tall. We will set everything up for him. There is no way we can't take down a puny little black dragon. Moreover, I heard that some foreign factions also have methods to transform behemoths into humans. Professor Huang relayed this information to Wang Li. Perhaps Lu Cheng could actually turn back into a human, but before that, they needed to make the public accept Lu Cheng the gorilla. His existence had to be acknowledged so they could operate freely. Wang Li found me that afternoon. He said he wanted me to shoot a movie and asked if I would seen the American movie Pacific Rim. The mech one? Yeah, I have seen it. What about it? The script is similar. The world undergoes a cataclysmic change. Dark giant dragons from another world invade. The nation is on the brink of destruction. Right at this critical moment, you step forward, saving the country from total disaster. All right, stop right there. He interrupted him immediately. That is way too cliché. The classic save the world trope. Let me guess. I save a young girl next. She falls in love with me, ignores society's judgment and stays with me. And eventually, I transform into a human and live happily ever after with her. How did you know? This was conceived by me and several screenwriters. Working together, Wang Li looked at me like he had just seen a ghost. I was completely speechless. Were these screenwriters total hacks? Whatever. Cliché is fine. It guarantees buzz and popularity. People eat this stuff up. Besides, with this giant monster theme, I am sure plenty of people will buy a ticket. This will also be highly beneficial for your future development. I thought about it for a moment. He actually had a point. Let me get one thing straight first. My acting skills are pretty limited. Do not blame me if I ruin the movie. That is perfectly fine. This script does not demand much acting from the male lead. You just need to wing it, and you will be fine. But you might need to help screen the female lead. I will just be straightforward with you. According to our latest intel, some ancient foreign factions possess a serum that turns behemoths into humans. We will do our best to get it for you. Secondly, we want to study if behemoths from the other world and humans have reproductive isolation or not. Furthermore, finding you a girlfriend will also help you maintain your humanity. Turning into a human was something I was genuinely looking forward to. Hearing his other points, I was speechless once again. But finding a girlfriend right now, this is too ridiculous. I am over 100 meters tall right now. Like a small mountain, I coughed twice. I think taking human form sounds great, but let us hold off on finding a girlfriend. After all, with my current tonnage, I am not exactly fit for a girlfriend. It is too weird. You do not need to worry about that. We have located the transformation serum. In a week, a gray dragon is planning to conduct illegal transactions with some domestic organizations. He has a dose of the transformation serum in his possession. Furthermore, he has turned into a human multiple times and infiltrated human cities. Hearing this, I was overjoyed then. What are we waiting for? Let us just buy it. No, 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 Mr. Liu. This black dragon is arrogant and wicked. He already has dozens of human lives on his hands, and he colludes with illegal domestic factions, endangering our national security. Therefore, the Security Bureau has decided to capture this black dragon, but capturing a black dragon outside our borders is quite difficult. So we would like to ask for your help, Mr. Liu. When the time comes, that serum will be given to you as spoils of war. Great. I was actually looking forward to it, but hearing that I had to fight a mythical creature like a black dragon, he immediately chickened out a bit. Over the past few months in the wild, because I had no energy, nor any inherited magical abilities, I got bullied by quite a few mythical behemoths. Fortunately, my skin is thick and tough. Their attacks could not hurt me, and I managed to escape them all. But this is a mythical dragon. Can I really do it? Seeing my hesitation, Wang Li continued, just rest assured. That black dragon is only about 50 or 60 meters long. It is nothing compared to you. Your physique is top tier even in the outer realms. If you had inherited memories and abilities, your combat power would be absolute top notch. But do not you worry. The military will coordinate with you. We won't let you fight alone. We will deploy fighter jets and bombers to assist. Missiles will also lock on from afar. So just relax. Plus, we have prepared some practice targets for you. That is right. I am not alone right now. I have Shia country behind me. Fighter jets, bombers, and long-range missiles backing me up. If I get hurt, I can just charge up to heal. What is there to be afraid of? With all these advantages, what do I have to fear? Let us start with the practice then. Seeing me agree, Wang Li excitedly asked the staff to bring over a giant projector. He pointed at a Godzilla on the screen, indicating this was for my target practice. Life level 5. Its lair is located on the border, 50 kilometers west of Yunhai City. It frequently enters our country to hunt. No less than hundreds of people have died by its hands. The government has wanted to eliminate it for a long time. Then the image switched. This is a centennial tree spirit, deep in the border jungle north of Tianqing City. Life level 6. Its strength is decent. It can be your second target. Tree spirit, level 6. Got it. Next is on the coastal border, an adult giant octopus. Life level 7. Its power is only slightly weaker than that black dragon. This is the third target. After Wang Li finished his introduction, I looked at the text on the projector, especially when I saw the last slide. That giant octopus looked absolutely terrifying. Was I really a match for that kind of thing? Mr. Wang, I think I need to reconsider this. This level 7 giant octopus, I am afraid I am no match for it. And I probably can't beat that black dragon either. Let us just forget about this mission. Being a gorilla is perfectly fine with me. Hearing my words, Wang Li immediately said, are you walking away from this? Mr. Liu, I am afraid you do not quite understand your own strength. You have already absorbed millions of kilowatt hours of electricity. Based on our calculations from the electricity you have absorbed, your power should have already reached an advanced level. Dealing with these behemoths won't be difficult for you. If you could fully control your body and use your innate talents, it would be a piece of cake. And if you truly can't beat them, we can launch a low-yield nuclear strike. Your physical toughness can completely withstand it. But your opponents might not. After hearing this, the tension in my heart eased a bit, and an idea popped into my head. Does our country have any missiles that can be fired by hand? They need to be powerful, and it would be even better if they had handles. It would be perfect if I could shoulder mount them like a human. And what about bulletproof vests and bulletproof helmets? Can you make extra large versions for me? A metal suit like in the movies works too. I am not picky. Down below, Wang Li was stunned by my requests. After a moment, he answered his phone. Hello, Commander, I suddenly feel that our ideas can be a bit bolder. 2 days later, I was wearing an oversized bulletproof vest and bulletproof helmet, holding a specially made gigantic assault rifle, and carrying 3 50-meter missiles on my back. Commander, please rest assured, I will definitely complete the mission. I then took large strides toward the target area, with various armored vehicles and helicopters following behind. We advanced. Soon I arrived at the hillside where Godzilla was located. The fighter jet scouting ahead relayed the information via radio to me while I was on standby. Hearing the message through my massive earpiece, he placed my giant weapon on the ground, took out a specially made missile from my back, crouched on the ground, and aimed at Godzilla's location in the valley. The missile instantly shot out with a fierce roar, flying toward the Godzilla in the valley with a loud boom. Godzilla's furious roar echoed from the valley. Brothers, charge with me. Let us kill this guy together. Charge! As I rushed into the mountains, I got a clear view of Godzilla's appearance. Godzilla was about 40 meters tall, only reaching my waist. He looked miserable right now. Half of his head was blown off, and most of his famous scales were shattered. His eyes were blinded, and he was struggling just to stand up. I showed absolutely no mercy. I grabbed him and pounded him into the ground. After feeling like I would beaten him enough, he kicked Godzilla over. My 100-ton fists fiercely hammered Godzilla's head. More than 10 seconds later, Godzilla's head had turned into a pile of mush. I found his core and swallowed it in a few gulps. After that, I looked at the dead Godzilla, surprisingly feeling a bit unsatisfied. Is that it? I have not fought enough. I then grabbed my walkie-talkie, which was as big as a car. Let us just head straight to the second round. I am still itching for a fight. On the other side, Wang Li, watching the recent battle, replied. The second target is 500 kilometers away. The fighter jets have limited fuel and can't support another battle right now. Return to base to resupply. It is a good time to replenish your ammo too. Alright, I agreed. Still wanting more action, I grabbed Godzilla's corpse from the ground and headed back to base. After restocking my ammo, he excitedly picked up my car-sized walkie-talkie. Brothers, are you ready? We are heading out again. Wait a moment. Wang Li yelled from below my feet. I crouched down to listen. Lu Cheng, can you go a little easier this time? This centennial tree spirit is extraordinary. It holds significant research value. If we bring it back to the research institute, it is highly possible we can develop a life serum. This would be incredibly helpful for our country's development, and many diseases could potentially be cured. So, I hope you go easy on it later. Try your best to capture it alive and bring it back. I looked at the giant weapon in my hands and sighed helplessly. I will do my best. The tree spirit was located in the border forest. Ground forces had a hard time advancing. Since ground forces can't get in, I will take the air support. Understood. Ground forces will remain on standby. Helicopters, fighter jets, and bombers are en route. Soon, deep in the forest, I saw a giant tree that was even taller than me. Its branches were lush and leafy. Hanging from them were various beasts like dragons, lions, and even human remains. On the trunk of the giant tree was a face resembling a human's. I knew this was the centennial tree spirit. I half squatted on the ground, pulled a missile from my back, mounted it on my shoulder, took aim and fired. With flames trailing behind it, the missile flew straight toward the giant tree. In just a second, the missile hit the tree spirit. With a loud boom, the tree spirit let out a violent shriek, nearly deafening my ears. Afraid I might have killed it instantly, I held my giant assault rifle without firing. Once the dust settled, the tree spirit's condition was revealed. Its once lush and leafy canopy now had only a few leaves left hanging. Many of its branches were broken, and its surface looked like it had been scorched by fire. The tree trunk suddenly let out a terrifying roar. Then the entire giant tree began to tremble, and the ground shook with it. Countless remaining massive branches and roots from beneath the ground all started to gather and merge. Finally, it shrank into a tree man about 70 or 80 meters tall. He could not help but gape in awe. It actually has a second form. The world is truly full of wonders. Whatever, just to be safe, I would better use full power. I then grabbed another missile and fired it right at the tree man. Boom! The tree man was blasted away before it could even get back up to fight. As it was rising, I charged at it like crazy, firing my giant weapon. I got close, grabbed the tree man, and stomped it into the ground. Then, taking a huge stride, he pinned it down. So you are the one asking for it. Then I grabbed a giant high-explosive grenade from my waist, forcefully stuffed it into its mouth, and ran back without looking back. Bang! The high-explosive grenade detonated. The tree man's head was blown completely off, leaving it lying motionless in the ruins. I observed it for a few seconds before walking up. He gave it 2 tentative kicks, no reaction. Ah, crap! I killed it again. All bark and no bite. I thought it could last at least a couple of rounds. I pulled out the walkie-talkie. Mr. Wang, sorry. I could not hold back. I accidentally killed it again. At this moment, Wang Li and the military top brass in the command room saw this scene and once again looked at each other in silent dismay. After 2 or 3 minutes, a gray-haired old man said, "It is fine. Its research value is only so-so. Dead is dead. It is no big deal." The most important thing right now is to discuss equipping Liu Chang with modern weapons. Based on our deductions, with this set of equipment, sweeping through level 7 life forms won't be a problem. Taking on some less troublesome level 8s should not be an issue either. But facing a level 9 life form would be somewhat beyond his current capabilities. After all, every level 9 life form in the Outer Realms is a true overlord, even worthy of the title of Emperor. Should we upgrade his equipment? Upgrading his gear is certainly doable. We have even more powerful specialized heavy equipment, such as heavy-duty missiles, high-energy laser weapons, and super-explosive weapons. We can equip Liu Chang with all of them, once equipped. Even without his innate strength or inherited memories, it won't matter. As long as he has heavy firepower, he can level everything. It is settled then. Immediately organize a team to adapt miniaturized heavy weapons and custom build a high-energy weapon system for Liu Chang. But if we equip him with such powerful weapons, what if he loses control to his bestial nature and goes berserk? That would be an absolute disaster for Xia country. Upgrading his gear is fine, but we need to get the transformation serum first. As long as he takes human form, gets a wife and kids, along with his parents being here, his humanity should not be much of an issue. Moreover, I suggest we arrange blind dates for him right now. Once he transforms, he can get married right away. Agreed. As Wang Li finished speaking, everyone in the command room nodded in agreement, thinking this approach was reasonable. Meanwhile, I quickly returned to the base. After unequipping my weapons and armor, Wang Li led a young woman in her 20s to me. She was quite striking. Long legs, a slim waist, and a delicate face. Her big eyes blinked charmingly. If she were in a university, she would definitely be top-tier campus belle material. This is your assigned psychiatrist. Hello. I am your psychiatrist. You have been alone in the wild for months. It is normal to have some psychological issues. Su Qingyu will be in charge of your mental health from now on. I do not need one. I immediately refused, but unexpectedly, this woman named Su Qingyu stuck to me like glue. When I went to eat, she tagged along. When I went to drink water, she followed. Even when I went to sleep, she would climb onto my chest and sleep there. Hey, what are you doing? Put me down. I really could not take it anymore. Are you here for a blind date with me? You are not a psychiatrist at all, are you? That is right. I am one of your blind date candidates, but I am also a licensed psychiatrist. Hearing her words, he inexplicably felt a bit uncomfortable. Can we swap her out? I turned my head and yelled to Wang Li in the distance. Mr. Liu, we have only known each other for 2 days. On what grounds are you asking for a swap? Do you think pretty women are generally too full of themselves and too hard to control? Su Qingyu continued. Is that why you are keeping me at arm's length and asking for someone else? That is way too macho of you. You have become even worse after turning into a giant beast. Hearing Su Qingyu's words, I silently looked at Wang Li, as if saying, this is the blind date you found for me. Seeing that I did not look too pleased, Su Qingyu spoke up again. Mr. Liu, it is fine if you do not agree. My main job is your psychiatrist. Being a blind date is just an optional extra. Let us begin our psychological counseling now. Mr. Liu, if I am not mistaken, right now, whether it is physically or psychologically, you have lost all interest in adult human females. Have not you? I stayed silent for a while, scratching my head with my massive claw. Finally, I admitted the truth. Yeah, I have. I actually used to like looking at pretty girls, but ever since turning into a gorilla, I have indeed lost interest in women. In fact, I have lost interest in anything with a human shape. I just do not feel anything. Later on TV, I saw female gorillas in a zoo, and my heart actually started pounding. My whole body got excited. Mr. Liu, experiencing this issue right now is actually not strange at all. It is like how many people keep pet dogs nowadays, but no matter how much they love them, they do not develop physiological attraction to them. That was indeed the case. I truly had no interest in human women right now. Since that is the case, why are you still setting me up on blind dates? And what you just said applies to you guys too. Looking like a black gorilla like I do now, I am afraid no human woman would ever like me. That is true. Mr. Gorilla, I do not know about others, but speaking for myself, it would be very hard to convince myself to fall in love with an ape. Hearing Su Qingyu's words, I sneered internally. I then lowered my head and shot her a dangerous glare. Su Qingyu was instantly overwhelmed by the oppressive stare. Her face went pale with fear, and her legs gave out, causing her to slump to the ground. Just as I was about to say something else, Wang Li, who had been watching from the sidelines, got a call. Hello, what? The northern defense line has fallen, and multiple high-level life forms have breached Xia country, slaughtering civilians. All right, I understand. He then ran up to me, his face pale, and looked up at my 100-meter-tall frame. Mr. Liu, Xia country needs your help. After saying that, he bowed deeply, looking at Wang Li bowing at 90 degrees. No need to bow. I am also a citizen of Xia. Send me the coordinates. Mr. Liu has agreed. Send the coordinates immediately. But to my surprise, before setting off this time, my entire set of gear was completely upgraded. The fireproof helmet on my head was replaced with a custom helmet equipped with radar scanning. My body was clad in heavy alloy armor. A massive high-voltage capacitor backpack hung on my back. The best part was, right next to me was a custom-made 6-barrel heavy Gatling gun. Every single bullet was as big as a water vat. This made me impatient to get going. I wanted to get to the battlefield immediately. So I said to Wang Li, "Time waits for no one. Is there a faster way for me to get there? If I run there, it will be too late." "You are right. Running there will definitely be too late." He immediately picked up his phone. "Dispatch 3 of our largest transport planes to me." "Yes, the absolute biggest ones. Right this instant." Meanwhile, the sky over the northern defense line was gray and gloomy. The hundreds of meters high steel wall had already been ripped open, leaving a massive gap. Tens of thousands of behemoths surged in like a black tide. The frontline soldiers were desperately firing their artillery and machine guns. The commander, his eyes bloodshot, roared into his walkie-talkie, "Fire! Everybody open fire! The city with millions of people is right behind us. We die before we retreat." Countless artillery shells rained down. Some smaller beasts were instantly blown to pieces, but when they hit the massive behemoths, they only left minor scratches. However, a 10-meter-tall iron rhino, with a single charge, could smash 7 or 8 heavy armored vehicles. The fighter jets in the sky were torn apart by swarms of giant eagles, plunging from the sky trailing white smoke. Every soldier on the defense line was filled with despair. Veterans silently pulled out their suicide grenades, preparing to take the charging monsters down with them. But just as the entire line was about to collapse, a deafening engine roar suddenly echoed from the sky. The soldiers looked up in fear, only to see 3 of Xia country's most powerful heavy transport planes. Beneath them, they seemed to be carrying something massive. They could not quite make out what it was. As it got closer, everyone saw the thick steel cables on the planes instantly detach. Then, they saw a giant pitch-black figure, plummeting straight down from high in the sky. No deceleration, no parachute. Accompanied by a thunderous boom, a huge area of the ground was violently crushed inward. What is that thing? I do not know. It must be our latest. But before they could finish, they saw my colossal body fiercely slam into the heart of the beast tide. The terrifying impact of my landing instantly crushed the surrounding level 1 beasts into pools of blood. Dust and smoke filled the air. I slowly stood up straight and cracked my neck under the alloy armor. It let out loud popping sounds. Then I raised the gigantic Gatling gun in my hands and let out an excited roar. "Brothers, charge with me. Charge." Then the gun barrels spun to life, unleashing a frantic hail of bullets into the beast tide. My weapons were specially made. Wherever they hit, they destroyed. Even magical armored beasts shielded by defensive barriers could not withstand my specialized heavy-caliber firepower. In less than 2 minutes, the once impenetrable beast horde was literally smashed open, leaving a massive empty zone. Watching this scene, all the soldiers were instantly dumbfounded. Just moments ago, they were ready to die for their country. They never expected that the plane was carrying this thing. And not only is this gorilla 100 meters tall, he is even wearing custom body armor, a riot helmet on his head, and holding this oversized weapon in his hands. Even the commander's eyes widened, speechless for a moment. "What are you all doing? Stop staring into space. Give them everything we have got." As his words fell, the frontline soldiers quickly snapped out of it and began laying down covering fire. But not long after, the clouds above suddenly began churning violently. A roar echoed through the sky. With a boom, a giant dragon, 60 to 70 meters long, and with 2 massive wings, descended from the sky. It first glanced at the corpses scattered across the ground. Its cold eyes were filled with fury. It never expected that after going through so much trouble to weaken Xia's barrier, the nation of Huaxiao would still be this tough to handle. And the power of their weapons and artillery was not bad at all. Its subordinate beasts could not gain much of an advantage. It took several hours just to break through the defense line, but right after breaking through, out of the sky drops a 100-meter-tall giant gorilla, slaughtering everything with a massive machine gun. Is this fair? Thinking of this, The black dragon directly opened its gaping maw, aiming at a human artillery position, unleashing a blast of dragon breath, melting the artillery position, along with a small hill, entirely into magma. This terrifying power made everyone gasp in horror. Then, the black dragon hovered in mid-air, speaking somewhat broken Chinese. Pitiful ants. Before the mighty dragon clan, your scrap metal is simply laughable. Prepare to face the wrath of a god. Hearing the dragon's words, the frontline soldiers felt their newly risen hope shatter once again. Their faces turned ashen. This was a giant dragon straight out of myth. A gorilla is ultimately just a gorilla. How could it possibly match a giant dragon? Naturally, the black dragon saw the soldiers' fear. A hint of arrogance appeared on its face. The anger in its heart subsided slightly. Then, its gaze fell upon me, gesturing for me to surrender. But to its utter surprise, I just rolled my eyes, tossed the AK in my hands onto the ground, reached behind my back, and pulled out a heavy Gatling gun. My 100-meter-tall body raised the massive barrels, pointing them straight at the black dragon, and I scoffed. So you are the so-called black dragon. Hand over the transformation potion right now, or I will turn you into Swiss cheese. I violently spun up the 6 massive barrels. The next moment, rat-tat-tat-tat-tat, countless armor-piercing bullets, carrying terrifying kinetic energy, instantly engulfed the black dragon in mid-air. Seeing this, the black dragon's eyes flashed with disdain. It casually conjured a magic barrier in its mind. These weapons did not even hold the power of a basic spell. Blocking these non-magical metal scraps would be a piece of cake, but the next second, bang 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 bang, accompanied by the dense hail of bullets. The barrier that claimed to block forbidden spells lasted for less than a second before shattering completely. Immediately after, thousands of armor-piercing rounds rained directly onto its draconic body. Dragon blood splattered everywhere. Then, with a massive thud, it crashed to the ground hundreds of meters away. Seeing this, I put away my Gatling gun and aggressively charged towards it. At this moment, the black dragon had just struggled to its feet. Its throat violently expanded, taking in a huge breath, preparing to unleash a devastating blast of dragon breath. But it never expected that as soon as I rushed over, I would plant my foot right in its face. With a gulp, that nasty breath was literally kicked right back down its throat. Then its belly swelled up violently. It rolled around on the ground in agony. Plumes of black smoke billowed from its mouth. Its eyes bulged out, and tears kept streaming down its face. Seeing this, I could not help but shake my head. This is a mythical giant beast. Looks more like an oversized black loach to me. Saying that, I grabbed it by the tail. Get up. The muscles in my arms instantly bulged. I then swung it around like a giant windmill, spinning it wildly in midair. A few breaths later, I slammed it viciously to the ground on my left. It made a massive deafening boom. Then, I wound up again, and smashed it hard on the other side. And again. Right, left, right.
Boom, boom, boom.
The entire battlefield plunged into a dead silence for a moment. All the Shasha soldiers and the giant beasts in the horde all stared at the mythical dragon, being tossed around like a torn burlap sack. I did not think too much about it. I kept slamming it for dozens of times before finally lifting it up with one hand. By this point, the black dragon was on its last breath. I raised my massive hand, grabbed it by the neck, and hoisted it up. I leaned in. Where's the potion? Handed over the critically injured dragon, let out a terrified hiccup. Then, teary-eyed, raised a trembling claw and cried out in stuttering Chinese, "Stop hitting me! Stop hitting me, Grandpa Gorilla! I do not have the potion right now, but I know the formula. Just give me some time, and I can definitely make it." Hearing the black dragon's words, though a bit annoyed there was not a ready-made one, hearing it had the formula still made me sigh in relief. As long as the potion could be made, I would be able to become human again. However, that meant I could not kill this black dragon now. I still needed him to make the potion, did not I? Thinking of this, while holding the black dragon, I looked towards the remaining beast horde and let out a furious roar. Hearing my bellow, those remaining giant beasts were instantly scared out of their wits. They ran away without even looking back. Then, I looked at those dumbfounded soldiers, grinned widely, and said, "All done, brothers. I am clocking out for the day." Saying that, dragging the giant dragon like a dead dog, I swaggered my way back. In no time, I vanished from their line of sight. The lead commander swallowed hard. Long live Great Shia. Long live Mr. Kong. Immediately, the entire northern capital defense line erupted, with earth-shattering cheers. Long live Great Chia! Long live Mr. Kong! We have won! Those fleeing otherworldly behemoths, hearing these cheers, immediately bolted even faster. A few hours later, dragging the half-dead Black Dragon, I returned to the secret base in Yunhai City. But right after I handed the Black Dragon to the researchers, Wang Li frantically found me. Brother Lu, you made a huge scene in the northern capital this time, even though we won a great victory. Your 100-meter-tall gorilla form was captured by a lot of civilians across the country, captured on camera, and so, the higher-ups decided that since we can't hide it, we might as well go public. We want to ask for your cooperation to shoot a documentary to calm the public's nerves. News of your existence has spread everywhere. There are videos and photos. The top brass has issued an ultimate order. Before the potion is completed, we must finish shooting this film. What do you say? Fine. It is just shooting a movie. No big deal. Is not it just acting? Mr. Kong, thank you so much. We will definitely cooperate. When can you start? Bring me the script so I can take a look. But let me be clear, I can't handle any of that cheesy female-led nonsense. Human women to me right now are just like little strips of jerky. I can't even hold them without breaking them. That is great. As long as you agree, I will go prepare right away. You are right. Finding a female lead is indeed a huge hassle. These directors here earlier also tried contacting top-tier domestic actresses, but as soon as those actresses heard, they had to act opposite a real 100-meter-tall monster like you. They were scared out of their wits. They would not even dare to get close to you. They were terrified out of their minds. Am I really that scary? Brother, you just finished smashing a giant dragon in the northern capital, dragged it back covered in blood, and now you are standing in this hangar. Tell me, is that scary or not? So what do we do? It is not like I can turn back into a human right now. Actually, not just the list actresses. They even contacted B-list ones. As a result, not a single actress was willing to come shoot this film. Some even hung up the phone before he could finish talking. As his words faded, the directors behind Wang Li also sighed one after another. However, just when everyone was at their wits' end, since no one dares to act, then I will do it. A crisp voice suddenly came from not far away. Everyone looked toward the sound, only to see that the person speaking was exactly that psychologist Wang Li assigned to me, namely, Su Qingyu. Su Qingyu saw everyone's gaze land on her, but she did not show any stage fright. After scanning the room, her eyes landed directly on me. What? Not welcome. I am your psychologist anyway, so I'm not that scared of a big guy like you. Most importantly, I really do not want to see you turn a movie that is supposed to comfort the public into a horror film. As she finished speaking, the room instantly erupted into laughter. I laughed too. All right, you are hired. With my nod of approval, those directors started mobilizing their crew. 2 hours later, the set was filled with all sorts of messy equipment, and several drones were shooting from high above. Once everything was ready, all departments attention. Scene 1. Take one Beauty and the Beast staring deeply into each other's eyes. The moment the words fell, countless cameras pointed at me. Cut. Mr. Lu, she is your lover. You can't look at her with such disdain. You need to be gentle, soft. You have to show that deep, cross-species affection. Imagine she is the most precious treasure in the world. That feeling where you would pluck the moon from the sky for her. Deep affection. Your gaze should be electric. Yes, that is the look. Hold it, do not move. Listening to these nauseating directions, all my black fur stood on end. Affection my foot. My previous battle with the black dragon took a lot out of me. I was already starving. Now my mind was just fixated on when this would be over, so I could go back and eat. And it would be even better if I could turn back into a human. Then I could go home and eat my mom's braised pork. At the thought of this, my stomach suddenly let out a loud rumble. I swallowed, and a massive drop of drool, bigger than a bathtub, splatted down, crashing onto the empty ground next to Su Qingyu, directly smashing a giant crater. In an instant, the entire film crew went dead silent. Su Qingyu was so frightened, she fell flat on her butt on my foot, her face pale as a ghost. The directors in the distance were the same, so startled they dropped their megaphones to the ground. See, cut. Mr. Lu, do not do anything rat. That is not food. That is the female lead. We do not eat people alive here. My bad. I was a little hungry and could not hold it back, but I definitely was not trying to eat her. I just got a craving for my mom's braised pork. The entire crew collectively wiped their cold sweat. Wang Li quickly had someone bring me 2 truckloads of batteries to replenish my magic energy. Once my magic energy was topped off, the ensuing filming, although still a bit rough, managed to keep going until the 3rd day of shooting, when we were prepping for the climactic final battle scene. According to the script, a giant beast that infiltrated the city was supposed to attack the female lead. I would step forward to save her and engage in a life or death struggle with the beast, but we filmed it several times, and the director kept rejecting it. This camera angle does not work. That little hill in the back is in the way. It is blocking the majestic background of the giant ape saving the girl. Get the demolition team on the line. Level that hill. Otherwise, it completely ruins the shot. The assistant director beside him had a bitter face. The demolition team won't be able to rig the explosives until tomorrow at the earliest. We won't be able to finish shooting today. Hearing their conversation from the side, my gaze landed on the little hill they mentioned. I was immediately speechless. This little hill was only 30 or 40 meters tall. It was just a matter of a single kick for me. Did they really need a demolition team for that? So I stood up in annoyance and walked over to the little hill. Under the watchful eyes of the entire crew, I lifted my right foot, which was larger than an armored vehicle, and delivered a fierce sweeping kick. With a deafening boom, dust flew everywhere. That dozens of meters high hill was just like a loose rock, kicked completely away by me. Then I turned around it as no big deal. Why even bother? With a demolition team looking at the petrified crowd, I said in a muffled voice, "Is the background good now? Hurry up and shoot. I need to rest when we are done." As the words fell, it took the director a long while before he tremblingly gave a thumbs up. Then, a look of sheer excitement appeared in his eyes. Screw Hollywood special effects. This is true violent aesthetics. Roll the cameras immediately. I am editing that shot just now into the opening sequence. In just 3 to 5 minutes. As the set was perfectly cleared, the final scene officially began shooting. The director, in pursuit of realism, actually brought in a rank 4 giant beast to play the villain. However, this rank 4 beast was a canine that had already been tamed by the military. It was very obedient. After the villain was in position, Su Qingyu stood in an open area, backing away with a look of terror. According to the script, the beast bared its fangs. Everything was proceeding step by step. I sat in the distance, constantly waiting for the director to call me in for the rescue. But right at that moment, the radar next to me beeped an alarm. Beep, beep. Warning. Warning. High energy lifeform detected. Lifeform level classified as rank 6. I snapped my head up and instantly locked onto the space behind Su Qingyu. The next moment, the space right behind her suddenly twisted, and a nearly transparent dark shadow silently emerged, extending claws that were 7 or 8 meters long, thrusting them viciously towards Su Qingyu's back. At this moment, all the cameras were rolling. The director also saw this through the monitor, but he thought it was the military's latest 3D technology. He slapped his thigh in excitement. Good. So realistic. The military's 3D holographic projection is simply divine. Dr. Su, maintain that terror. Do not look back. Male led, prepare to enter. Before the director's words even faded, I roared out, "Get lost." Then I charged out like a missile. At that moment, Su Qingyu was brewing her emotions with her eyes closed. Suddenly, she felt a shadow loom overhead. The entire crew finally realized that it was not a holographic projection. It was a real giant beast. The director, who was just praising the awesome projection, dropped his walkie-talkie to the ground with a clatter. That is not a projection. That is real. Then he fully snapped back to reality and screamed in panic, "Dr. Su, run." However, just as she closed her eyes in resignation, a thunderous boom erupted right beside her ears. Looking up, she saw the sky above obscured. A massive foot descended from the sky, stomping that giant beast straight into the lake. Next, a giant hand scooped her up and placed her in a safe location. But it was not over. That beast stomped into the lake was not dead. It dashed out, its body gradually fading, as if it were about to blend into the void. I snorted coldly, grabbed a scrapped military tank nearby, and used it like an oversized brick. He hurled it toward the giant beast in mid-air in an instant. The military tank in my hand flew out just like an artillery shell. With a whistling sound, it shot straight at that giant beast. Boom. A stomach-churning thud echoed out. That giant beast in mid-air did not even have time to let out a scream before it was smashed into a meaty pulp by the tank, raining down as a shower of blood. Seeing this, Everyone was instantly dumbfounded. They looked at me, then at the thrown tank. All of their jaws dropped wide open. Their eyes were filled with horror. They probably never expected that I would swat that terrifying beast to death in one hit. Then I turned my head and looked at Dr. Sue, whom I had set aside. At this moment, the woman's face was deathly pale. She was trembling all over, and tears were falling in large drops. She was obviously terrified out of her mind. I scratched my head and said in a muffled voice, "Hey, you are not dead, right? You are not a very professional psychologist, crying over a little scene like this." As the words fell, Su Qingyu froze for a second. She subconsciously looked up at me, looking at my large, rugged face. She felt angry, scared, and amused all at once. She immediately scrambled up, forcefully kicked my toe, and yelled through gritted teeth, Who got scared and cried? I am acting. What would a big gorilla like you know?" As her words faded, the tense atmosphere on set vanished completely. A burst of roaring laughter erupted. The director in the distance saw his face go from pale to red, and finally, he excitedly yelled, "Cut." Then he rushed to the camera and started playing it back. Soon, his ecstatic laughter echoed across the set. Perfect. Absolutely freaking perfect. Not a single trace of acting. Do not cut a single frame of this. Use it directly as the climax of the finale. After everything was wrapped up, Wang Li finally entered the set with armed personnel. "Big brother, thanks to you, otherwise I would have been disciplined. Orders from above were to ensure the safety of the crew. If even the slightest thing went wrong today. All right, as long as everyone's fine. Next time you film, remember to send more people to stand guard." Definitely. Definitely. Right now, the barrier's effects are getting weaker by the day. Aside from the beast horde in the northern capital earlier, giant beasts have also been breaking into other places. I really do not know how much longer our Xia's barrier can hold up. Hearing Wang Li's words, I fell deep into thought. Xia's barrier is getting weaker and weaker. No wonder I have been feeling that the world's suppression on me is getting smaller and smaller. Mr. Wang, I want to see if I can improve my strength a bit, or having more advanced weapons and gearworks too. We have them. Deep inside the base, there is a set of higher spec ultra-high voltage charging devices. It was originally prepared for higher level life forms. Wang Li continued. More advanced weapons and gear are currently in production. We do not have finished products yet, but we do have the ultra-high voltage power source. Do you need to use it? The barrier is getting weaker, and the giant beasts will only increase in number. My parents are still in the city. I can't let anything happen to them. Besides, someone has to stand on the front lines. Commander. This is Wang Li. I have a report to make. Mr. Liu is requesting the use of the ultra-high voltage charger. The situation is like this. Mr. Kong is also sensing that the energy is getting weaker. He is very worried that one day the energy will disappear completely, which would cause unnecessary trouble. So he wants to increase his strength. Where is he right now? Understood. I will contact him now. Half an hour later, a military jeep pulled up in front of me. Mr. Kong, I will lead the way in my car. You follow me. After saying that, Wang Li got in, hit the gas, and sped off. After saying goodbye to the crew, I followed him step by step. Soon, just about an hour later, Wang Li led me to a power plant. This power plant is massive, primarily relying on nuclear power. There are ultra-high voltage power boxes everywhere. Wang Li got out of the car and explained, "This is one of our top 5 power plants. It can generate 40 billion kilowatts a year, supplying power to several major cities. The higher-ups have specially approved its use for your training. This should be enough for you, right?" Hearing this, my eyes lit up. 40 billion kilowatts a year. That should definitely be enough for me to level up. Thinking of this, I said in a muffled voice, "It is enough. More than enough." Then, led by Wang Li, I approached one of the power boxes. I gotta say, this power box is huge. It covers an area of over 10 meters. There is a digital counter on it, currently at 80%. Remaining power, 9 million kilowatts. A few staff members nearby handed me the power cable. After I took it, they quickly pulled the switch. A massive electrical current surged through the cable. I closed my eyes and carefully felt the magic within me, gradually becoming more abundant. But this voltage is not high enough, not even close, to actually achieve any training effect. It needs to be increased by at least 10 times. I said to Wang Li, "I feel it working, but the voltage is way too low. Increase it by 10 times for now." 10 times. It is already at 1000 volts. 10 times more would be 10,000 volts. Are you sure you can handle such high voltage? We will find out when we try. Wang Li stood not far away, a look of concern on his face. "Do not worry about it. This little bit of current is not even enough to scratch my itch. Just turn it up. Seeing my insistence, Wang Li did not argue further. With a wave of his hand, a few workers in hazmat suits approached the power box and cranked the output voltage up to 15,000. With a hum, an electrical arc several times stronger than before sparked wildly, surging right at me. He did not flinch at all. I grabbed it with one hand, letting the high voltage flood into my body. With a sizzle, I felt an intense wave of relief throughout my body. It felt exactly like soaking in a hot spring, incredibly comfortable. And as it poured in, I could feel the physical strength of my body slowly increasing. Though not fast. It was definitely a steady improvement. It seems my decision to absorb electricity. Thinking of this, I grabbed those two thick cables and shoved them right into my mouth. This scene completely stunned everyone. But I was not done yet. After shoving them in, I took a massive drag. A massive electrical arc shot from the power box, snaking down the wires, and I swallowed every last bit of it. After I was done, I even let out a burp. So satisfying. Once Wang Li snapped back to reality, he asked from a distance, "Are you okay? If it is too much, let us slow down. There is no need to rush. Do not worry. I know what I am doing." I glanced at him by the way. "Can you turn the power up a little more?" As my words fell, Wang Li's mouth twitched slightly, but he still made the call. "Hello, this is Wang Li. We need to increase the power here. Please keep a close eye on the data and report back at any time." But he was still a bit uneasy. "Is this the provincial hospital? Send me a vitals monitor immediately. The largest model you have." "Yes, right now." "Send it over immediately." Days passed just like this. Every day I was either absorbing voltage or checking my vitals. In between, I also managed to finish shooting the movie. Now we were just waiting for its release. My strength was also steadily growing, from mid-rank 8 to late rank 8, and then all the way to peak rank 8. I had a feeling that it would not be long before I finally broke through. Soon as the movie was released, I also reached a critical juncture to guarantee a successful promotion to rank 9. I directly dug a massive pit. After routing all the power plant's generators into it, it instantly transformed into a sea of lightning. Then I took a deep breath and jumped right in. With crackling sounds, the black fur on my body was scorched by the electricity, and my entire body twitched uncontrollably. But I gritted my teeth and absorbed all the electrical energy. Immediately after, my body underwent an earth-shattering transformation. My meridians became stronger, my bones grew tougher. Even the magic energy that had been dormant inside me was stimulated by the lightning and surged out of my body, wrapping me entirely and forming a 100-meter-tall giant egg. Then, all the lightning in the pool was sucked into the egg. Wang Li saw this through the surveillance cameras. A look of excitement appeared on his face. He immediately ordered the soldiers to be on high alert. Nothing was allowed to interrupt my advancement. At the same time, he took out his phone to report to his superior. "Mr. Kong has absorbed all the electricity. He has now transformed into a giant egg. It is estimated he is currently advancing to rank 9. As long as the advancement is successful, our nation of Xia will have a rank 9 taboo level entity guarding us. When that happens, those foreign factions will definitely back down." The superior laughed heartily. "Ha ha ha. Excellent. Excellent. You must protect Mr. Kong at all costs. Do not let any accidents disturb him. By the way, do you have enough manpower?" "Never mind. I will send you another 1,000 men. You absolutely must protect Mr. Kong." Hearing the superior's words, Wang Li immediately stood at attention. "Rest assured, I will complete the mission." Soon, the 1,000 men arrived. Wang Li commanded them to set up an inescapable net of security. Heavy missiles, the latest radar systems, and the newest nuclear-powered weapons were all deployed. They went all out to guarantee my safety. In a flash, half a month passed. A crack appeared on the giant egg, followed by a surge of consciousness. 2 cracks. 3 cracks, dozens of cracks. Then I suddenly stood up. The giant egg completely shattered. I was exposed to everyone's line of sight. At this moment, my height reached a towering 200 meters. My muscles were extremely well developed, like solid rock, radiating an overwhelming sense of oppression. More importantly, I could feel that all the magic within me had transformed into the power of lightning, and I could manipulate it at will, unlike my previous magic, which I could not fully control. Now, if I wanted to unleash the lightning, I could cause utter devastation with a single wave of my hand. After experiencing the changes in my body, I glanced at the sky, then looked at Commander Wang Li. "Have your men fall back. I'm about to face my heavenly tribulation." As my words fell, before Wang Li could even react, he saw the previously clear sky suddenly fill with lightning and thunder. "This is a heavenly tribulation. You actually triggered a heavenly tribulation. Everyone, fall back to a safe distance. Once he snapped out of it, he immediately ordered his subordinates to retreat. Meanwhile, I stared silently at the heavenly tribulation above. Thinking about it, it was almost funny. When I was a human, did I ever think I would face a heavenly tribulation one day? Probably not. And in the form of a giant gorilla, no less. Fate sure is a prankster. I shook my head. Then, the lightning within me surged, forming a suit of lightning armor over my body. With a powerful push, the ground instantly caved in and cracked over a large area, and I launched myself into the sky, jumping straight into the tribulation clouds. He threw a fierce punch. A deafening sonic boom echoed out. A huge chunk of the clouds was instantly cleared, blown apart by my single punch. After landing on the ground, I looked at the scattered clouds and scoffed. Is that all? As my words fell, the heavenly tribulation seemed to feel humiliated. An invisible, majestic pressure began to spread. Countless bolts of lightning began to gather in the clouds. Once they condensed to a certain point, a streak of purple lightning struck down, hitting me squarely on the back. With a boom, countless electrical sparks danced across my skin. But with a single breath, I absorbed it all into my body. I nodded in satisfaction. This lightning bolt is not bad. Then I roared at the sky. Not enough. Give me some more. As my words fell, the originally gray clouds turned pitch black. Endless lightning transformed into silver lightning dragons churning within the clouds. Then, the heavenly tribulation rained down like it was free, madly dropping 1 bolt, 2 bolts, 3 bolts, continuing all the way to 81 bolts. There was not a trace of fear in my eyes. I just let my body take the hits. If it were any other type of attack, I might have dodged it. But since it was all lightning, I am sorry to say, I am the granddaddy of lightning. Thinking of this, I leaped up again, charging straight into the heavenly tribulation. This scene made Wang Li and the others watching from afar twitch in shock. At the same time, this earth-shattering heavenly tribulation directly alerted factions all over the world. In a remote, uninhabited mountain range, a giant dragon, thousands of miles long, coiled around a peak, looking toward the direction of Shia. At the bottom of the ocean, 10,000 meters deep, a massive turtle looked up at the sky. A rank 9 taboo heavenly tribulation. If they survive this unscathed, we will have another peer. To think that the nation of Wachia has birthed another rank 9 taboo entity. And judging by the direction it is within Shia, we will have to put our previous plans on hold. Let us figure out this rank 9 taboo entity's strength first. Then, an order was given: men, go investigate Shia. A 100-meter tall fire giant crawled out, a newly ascended rank 9 taboo. If I devour him, I can extend my lifespan by another 1,000 years. Cutting back to Shia, I soared into the sky. I opened my massive mouth and swallowed the entire heavenly tribulation whole. Countless silver lightning dragons transformed within my body into pure energy, and my height skyrocketed once again. From the initial 200 meters, I grew to nearly 400 meters. Seeing this, everyone nearby dropped their jaws, their eyes filled with utter shock. My God! He must be several hundred meters tall now. I clenched my fists in satisfaction. Not bad. So this is the power of a rank 9 taboo. Let us see who dares to mess with me now. After getting a feel for my explosive new strength, I said, I have to thank the nation for its support. Lu Cheng, the nation thanks you too. If it were not for the nation's full support, advancing to rank 9 would have been almost impossible for me. If the nation needs anything, just say the word. Where are my parents? I have been training for quite a while this time, and I would like to see them. Oh, and has the transformation potion been developed yet? Hearing my question, Wang Li did not answer immediately. Instead, he took out his phone, made a few calls, and came back. Your parents are doing great. They are very healthy, currently in the base's highly secure residential area. As for the transformation potion, it was actually completed a week ago. Because you were in the middle of your breakthrough, we did not want to disturb you, but I have already sent someone to bring it over. Hearing that the transformation potion was on its way, I could not help but show a bit of joy on my face. The transformation potion was finally ready. He could finally turn back into a human and go home to eat my mom's braised pork. For this day, I did not know how long I had waited, but fortunately the wait was not in vain. Soon, a convoy slowly approached and parked by my feet. From one of the white vehicles, 7 or 8 researchers in white lab coats stepped out. When they saw my massive, several hundred-meter tall body, they froze for a moment, then looked incredibly excited. Wow, I finally get to see Mr. Kong in person. He is so cool. There is no way he is just 100 meters tall. He is easily several hundred meters. This is unbelievable. I really want to take him back to the lab for some research. Study his underlying genetic code. I would love to see what his DNA sequence looks like. Is he a completely different species? Could I get a tissue sample? I want to take it back to study. Oh, and it would be even better if we could clone him. Listening to what these researchers were saying, I felt a sudden inexplicable chill run down my spine. Even though I could crush them all with a single finger, hearing their words and seeing the fanatical expressions on their faces just really creeped me out. Wang Li, who was standing nearby, quickly spoke up and interrupted them. All right. That is enough. I called you here to deliver the potion. Hurry up and bring it out. Hearing Wang Li's words, the researchers reluctantly pulled out a briefcase. Inside the briefcase were neatly arranged 2 vials of dark green potion. Be careful. The ingredients for this are very rare. I used 2 fingers to carefully pinch one of the vials and looked at Wang Li. How do I use this? Do I just drink it? Wang Li nodded from below. Just drink it straight. It has already been tested. There are no side effects. Hearing this, I did not hesitate anymore. I directly tossed both vials of potion, along with the glass bottles, into my mouth. I crunched them a few times and swallowed it all down. As soon as I swallowed it, my stomach felt like it was on fire. I felt an inexplicable energy surging wildly inside me. Immediately after, my 400-meter-tall body began to shrink violently. Countless bolts of lightning uncontrollably shot out from within me, and a few seconds later, formed a giant egg again. Wang Li and the researchers were stunned. During their testing, they had never encountered a situation like this. The test subjects had always transformed directly into humans. Why did it turn into a giant egg? But fortunately, it was not long before the giant egg burst with a boom, turning into human Lu Cheng, landing on the ground straight from mid-air. I looked down at my hands. They were no longer bare paws covered in black fur, but a pair of slender, clean human hands. Seeing this, I jumped in place out of sheer excitement. Holy crap. I really changed back. But I quickly noticed that the way people around me were looking at me seemed a bit off. Wang Li tilted his head up, his mouth wide open. The female researchers nearby were covering their faces, blushing profusely. One of them even got a nosebleed. I looked down and saw my little brother swaying in the wind. My face immediately flushed red, but then I also realized that not only was I completely naked, my height did not seem right either. Wang Li seemed to only reach my mid-thigh, so I immediately found a mirror to look at myself. I was instantly stunned. At this moment, even though I had shed the 400-meter-tall gorilla form, my current height was a solid 35 meters, nearly twice as tall as a normal human. Was this right? But I suppose it was much better than before. What are you all staring at? Hurry up and get me some clothes. The biggest you have, as long as it covers my decency. Quick, get the largest tracksuit. After waiting for about 10 minutes, I finally slipped into an oversized tracksuit. I finally breathed a sigh of relief. At least I do not have to streak anymore. Thinking of this, I felt quite excited. Commander Wang, where are my parents? Have they arrived? Do not worry. Before we sent the transformation potion over, we already had your parents brought here. They are right outside the door. As Wang Li's words fell, a woman appeared before my eyes, rushing over with tears in her eyes. Son. Behind her was a middle-aged man in his 40s, also looking at me with teary eyes. Cheng, these two were none other than my father and mother. Seeing the two of them, I could not hold back my emotions anymore. I dropped to one knee and hugged them both. My mom, choking on her sobs, kept saying, "It is good that you are back. So good you are back. You are just way more muscular than before." My dad patted my shoulder from the side. "Yeah. You are way too buff now. It is going to be hard to buy clothes for you." "Mom, I am starving to death. I really want to eat your braised pork." My mom wiped her tears and nodded repeatedly. "Okay. Mom will go make it for you right now. You can eat as much as you want today." Half an hour later, in the base's cafeteria, I shoveled mouthfuls of rice and braised pork. I ate a whole half basin of it, tears streaming down my face as I ate, sighing emotionally from time to time. This is the life of a human. After I had eaten my fill, a little head suddenly peeked in from outside the door. It was Su Qingyu. She was not wearing her white lab coat today. Instead, she was in a tight combat suit. Seeing that my parents were not next to me, she walked over. "Oh my. Not bad. I did not expect that after turning human. You would actually look quite decent." I rolled my eyes. "You do not say. I was always a good-looking guy." "Okay. By the way, what are you doing here?" I have transformed into a human now. My aesthetic preferences are completely normal. I do not need you for psychological counseling anymore. That is perfect. The mission Commander Wong arranged for you earlier can officially move forward now. Mission? What mission? I am unilaterally announcing that starting today, you do not need to look for any other girlfriend. I am your girlfriend. Lady, is there something wrong with your brain? Before I was a 400-meter tall gorilla. It is understandable if you were sacrificing yourself for the country. But now my aesthetics are completely back to normal. Why are you still pestering me? Hearing what I said, Su Qingyu immediately blushed. She looked straight into my eyes. What is wrong with me? I was rendered utterly speechless. This woman is a bit aggressive. However, just as the two of us were glaring at each other, a piercing alarm suddenly blared across the base. Warning. Warning. Barrier energy is rapidly depleting. Complete collapse estimated in 72 hours. I saw Wang Li rushing in, his face covered in sweat. Brother, something huge has happened. The barrier is almost gone. And on top of that, an envoy from the Dark Knight Empire is outside. He specifically asked to see you. I frowned. Dark Knight Empire. What the hell is an envoy of the Dark Knight Empire? And they specifically asked to see me. Plus, the name Dark Knight Empire sounds way too edgy. Alright, since he wants to see me, I will go take a look. Saying that, I followed Wang Li to the border. At this moment on the border, tens of thousands of fully armed soldiers were standing at the ready. Countless anti-aircraft missiles and the latest laser cannons had been deployed to the military zone. Outside the barrier, the vampire Marquis who was fighting hovered in mid-air, wearing a medieval suit. His eyes were filled with arrogance. Speaking in broken and haughty Chinese, he said, "Is this the mysterious Sha nation? There is not even a trace of magic in the air. I am so utterly disappointed." Oh right. I heard a rank 9 taboo was just born here. Tell him to come out and see me immediately. Otherwise, once your barrier falls, it will be your doomsday. As his words fell, the crowd's expressions inevitably turned grim. This vampire Marquis was from the Dark Knight Empire, an old established empire in the other world. Their strength was terrifying. They supposedly had several rank 9 taboo entities. In the past, it would not have been a big deal, but if the Dark Knight Empire invades now, it is no joke. Although Mr. Kong is also a rank 9 taboo life form, he just recently advanced. He probably is not a match for them. Wang Li's face was also extremely grim, but he quickly showed a resolute expression and said, "Mr. Kong, rest assured no matter what happens, the Jaya nation stands firmly behind you." Hearing Wang Li's words, I waved my hand, signaling it was not that serious. I will go meet him first. With that, I walked out of the barrier and stood before the vampire Marquis. The vampire Marquis looked down at me from above, disdain in his eyes. But before he could speak, he spoke first. "Do you bats ever brush your teeth? You are so damn ugly." Hearing this, the vampire Marquis flew into a rage. A mere mortal dares to insult the noble bloodline. You are courting death. After saying that, he sneered. "Ignorant fool. I will show you what true trash looks like." A dark magic array appeared in the sky, expanding rapidly, crashing down toward me and everyone behind me. The people behind me, seeing this overwhelming attack, could not help but show terrified expressions. But I did not even bat an eyelid. I just slowly raised my right hand, and right in front of this noble vampire Marquis, snapped my fingers. With a crisp snap, the clouds in the sky were instantly struck by a massive bolt of lightning, shattering on the spot. And it was not over. It smashed through the magic array, heading straight for the vampire in mid-air. Seeing this, the vampire Marquis instantly widened his eyes, his face full of shock. But the next second, the lightning struck. He was immediately scorched into a burnt husk. With a thud, he fell straight at my feet. The entire scene went dead silent. Everyone stared in disbelief. They all knew I had advanced to a rank 9 taboo existence, but they did not know exactly how strong I was. They never expected that this vampire duke before them, who claimed to be a rank 8 life form, would be annihilated by a single snap of my fingers. He did not even get to reveal his true form. It truly makes one's scalp tingle in fear. I did not think too much about it. I just stomped that humanoid piece of charcoal into dust. Looking at the still dazed Wang Li, I said, "Get ready for war." Commander Wang. You would better notify all military enterprises nationwide immediately. Tell them to run all production lines at full capacity. Since the barrier will be gone in 3 days anyway, we might as well take the initiative and attack. Let these country bumpkins from the other world see what a modern torrent of steel is. Let them feel insufficient firepower phobia. Wang Li then grabbed the phone and started making calls. In just about 10 minutes, alarms began blaring overwhelmingly across the country. The entire nation has entered DEFCON 1. Attention all citizens. The nation is now in DEFCON 1. Please do not panic. All citizens, please return to your homes immediately. The city's residents, hearing the alarms, turned pale with panic. What is going on? Why did the air raid sirens just go off? Are we going to war, or did those giant beasts break in? Impossible. Did not we just win a huge battle a few days ago? Daddy, I am scared. Do not be scared. It is just a drill. It is all fake. It will be over soon. Look, there are planes in the sky. They are protecting us. After a mother said this to her little girl, she hugged the little girl tightly, then hurriedly rushed home. Soon, countless people immediately started scrambling. Do not grab mine. Get out of my way. If you do not let go, I am calling the police. Call them. You think I am scared of you? In just a few short hours, all the major supermarkets in the city were completely emptied out. Countless citizens returned home with their supplies. Countless veterans received their recall orders. Massive armies, row upon row of tanks, armored vehicles, and rocket launchers. Report. Third company assembled and ready. Awaiting orders. Report. Artillery company is ready. Awaiting orders. Report. 362nd Brigade is in position. Awaiting orders, and all across the country. Military factories received the secret codes, working through the night to produce military gear. The internet was also blowing up. People were saying everything. Some said it was the end of the world. Some said the giant beasts had broken through. Others said the country was preparing a counterattack. I was not sitting idle either. After calming my parents down, I started reviewing the intel on the Dark Knight Empire. But the intel was incomplete. It only stated that the Dark Knight Empire is extremely powerful, with over 10 rank 8 life forms, and at least 1 rank 9 taboo life form. Looks like I will have to figure them out in actual combat. But not long after I finished reading, Wang Li found me. Mr. Lu Cheng, come with me. He took me to the deepest level of the military base. We arrived in front of a giant mech. Ah. This is the exoskeleton the country built for you over the past 2 days. The entire mech is made of high-strength alloys. It is extremely durable. According to our calculations, it should be enough to withstand attacks from an average rank 9 life form. A mech that can block rank 9 life form attacks. Now, this is some good stuff. Thinking of this, I rubbed my hands together. I transformed back into my 400-meter-tall giant ape form and approached the giant mech. He placed a hand on it, adaptive posture. Adjusting AI system ready. Target. Rank 9 King Kong Lu Cheng. Then came a series of mechanical clicking sounds. The mech in front of me lit up with a red glow. It automatically flew over and clamped onto my entire body. Then came an exhilarating sequence of mechanical assembly sounds, lasting for about 10 seconds. When I looked at myself again, a suit gleaming with metallic luster had completely covered my body. The left arm was equipped with a 100-meter-long shield. The right arm held a high-frequency laser sword, and the chest featured a nuclear reactor. I moved slightly and shot forward several hundred meters. It has all the functions you could ever need. How is it not bad, right? This is the country's most advanced mech. According to our calculations, this mech can more than double your combat strength. Not bad. Not bad. I smiled. Then Wang Li added, all right, stop testing it. The Dark Knight Empire's Legion is here. They have already reached the front lines. Hurry over and support them. As his words fell, wearing the mech, I soared into the sky. In no time, I arrived at the border, the front lines. At this moment, the Shia soldiers were already engaging the Dark Knight Empire's undead legion. In a fierce battle, I am here. Countless soldiers on the wall were firing furiously downward. Behind them were thousands of artillery positions. Every few seconds, countless missiles launched from the artillery positions, targeting the undead army outside, booming continuously, blowing the undead army to pieces. But it was not over yet. Fighter jets swooped down from high above, raining countless payloads onto the undead army. Thermobaric bombs, incendiary bombs, and more, blowing the undead legion to pieces. The commander of the opposing undead legion shouted, "Holy crap! Did not they say the humans of the Shia nation could not use magic? Why are they so fierce? This does not make any sense." Then, the commander of the undead legion ran back to a mobile palace in the rear and knelt on one knee. "Respected Lord, perhaps we should just give up. Even though the Shia nation is not skilled in magic, their technology is way too powerful. Even if we can take it, our casualties will definitely be catastrophic." As his words fell, a cold snort came from inside the palace. Then, a massive hand reached out from the palace, grabbing the undead legion commander's head. The commander instantly panicked. "Lord, spare my life." But before he could finish, the giant hand gripping his skull crushed it effortlessly. Then, from that mobile palace, a medieval figure flew out in a flash. When he reappeared, he had already reached the battlefield, hovering above Shia. Interesting. Looking at the heavily crippled undead legion, he frowned. The anger on his face grew. A terrifying wave of energy surged from his body. Instantly, the sky changed colors. The sun turned blood red. Endless blood-red storm clouds shrouded the land. Then he sneered coldly. "A mere bunch of magic-less humans actually dare to be so arrogant. This count will show you despair." Then a rain of blood fell from the clouds, hitting the undead army. "No, this can't go on. If this blood rain continues, I am afraid the entire army will be wiped out." So I immediately acted, and with a boom, launched into the sky, wearing the mech, charging straight at the blood rain in the sky. Flew the mech into the clouds. Lightning surged all over my body, crackling brightly. Lightning danced through the crevices of the mech, like a purple sun crashing into the bloody muck, with a sizzle. The moment the lightning touched the blood clouds, the blood-red clouds were like red-hot iron, meeting cold water, evaporating wildly, churning, and emitting piercing screeches. I spread my arms, and the lightning within me poured out, bolt after bolt, each one massive in size, tearing the surrounding blood clouds to shreds. The soldiers on the ground looked up, only to see the blood-red canopy being torn apart by streaks of purple lightning, like someone in the sky taking a knife and slicing open the bloody canvas to reveal the blue sky behind it. Those soldiers who were festering had their conditions temporarily stabilized because the rain stopped. In mid-air, the vampire count, seeing his forbidden blood rain spell easily dispelled, his expression went from disdain to pure outrage. The vampire count snorted coldly. "So you are that newly ascended rank 9 taboo. I thought you would be something special. Turns out you are just a monkey in a tin suit, with a face like yours. You have the nerve to call someone else a monkey. Look in the mirror. Your face is as pale as wall putty." The vampire count's face instantly turned livid. What an arrogant, ignorant barbarian. "Today, this count will teach you what true power is." As his words fell, he turned into a black shadow, moving so fast the naked eye could barely catch him, instantly appearing right in front of me and clawing at my chest. I instinctively raised my right arm's high-frequency laser sword, which flared up with a hum. A hundreds of meters long blade of light swept across. The vampire count sensed the danger. He leaned back sharply, barely dodging the sword strike, but his medieval suit was caught by the laser sword's glowing edge, slicing off a huge chunk, exposing his pale skin underneath. The vampire count looked down at himself, his face growing even uglier. Then, holding nothing back, his 10 fingers suddenly elongated, transforming into 10 dozens of meters long blood-red, sharp blades thrusting toward my vital spots. Clang, clang, clang. The blood-red blades struck the mech, but only left a few scratch marks, failing to pierce even the surface layer. The vampire count's face finally changed color. He looked at his blood blades in shock, then looked at my mech. "What material is this?" "It actually blocked my blood blades. You must know that my blood blades can effortlessly slice through the shields of a rank 8 life form, and this tin suit just took it head on." Seeing him dazed, without a word, I raised my left arm's railgun, aiming right at his chest. With a boom, the electromagnetic shell fired at supersonic speeds. The vampire count reacted extremely fast, dodging sideways, but the shell still grazed his body, directly blowing a massive hole in half of his body, tearing open a huge wound with blood gushing out. However, The vampire's regenerative abilities were indeed terrifying. The hole began to heal within seconds, but at the wound, the residual electricity from the railgun shell kept searing it, slowing the healing speed down significantly. The vampire count clutched his wound. His face completely lost its previous arrogance. He retreated rapidly to open up the distance, his hands forming signs quickly in front of his chest. Blood-red magic arrays appeared behind him. 1, 2, 3, a total of 12, each one radiating heart-palpitating magical fluctuations. The vampire count sneered. "Since you are so tough in close combat, let us see how you handle my magic. Let us see how many times your scrap metal can block this." As his words fell, the 12 magic arrays fired 12 blood-red pillars of light straight at me. He directly retracted the railgun on my left arm and activated the weapon mounts on the mech's back, pulling out 2 tactical nukes, one in each hand. Aiming right at the vampire count, I fired. The 2 missiles trailed white exhaust, passing through the 12 blood-red light pillars. The pillars of light hit my body. Instantly, patches of high-heat burn marks appeared on the mech. The internal alarms blared warnings. Warning, left shoulder armor damaged by 12%. Warning, chest armor temperature critical. But I gritted my teeth and tanked it forcefully. On the other side, the vampire count was not so lucky. He never expected I would not dodge or evade, choosing to trade blows with him head-on. By the time he saw the 2 missiles flying toward him, it was already too late. 2 massive explosions rang out. The missile payload was truly massive. The tail shockwave blew the count completely away, and his speed was already much slower. He propped himself up on the ground with his only remaining arm, his blood-red eyes filled with disbelief. What is this thing? How is it so powerful? It has absolutely no magic, yet it can cause such terrifying damage. In the thousands of years I have lived, I have never seen anything like this. I walked up. This is called a missile. We have even bigger ones. Want to try again? Hearing this, a flash of fear crossed the vampire count's face, but that fear was quickly replaced by rage. He suddenly threw his head back and let out a long howl. His entire aura began to erupt. From his original 2-meter human form, he rapidly transformed into a giant bat, dozens of meters tall. This was his true form. A pair of massive wings blotted out the sky. A blood-red energy sphere began gathering in his mouth. Since that is the case, then let us perish together. This count will use a forbidden spell to destroy you along with this city. I will let your Shia nation know the consequences of offending the Dark Knight Empire. The soldiers on the ground hearing this instantly turned pale. The aura radiating from that blood-red energy sphere made everyone feel the fatal danger of death. Even the air started turning cold. Wang Li, in the rear command post, watched the monitors, his hands trembling, but he still grabbed the radio. "Do not panic. Everyone hold your positions. Mr. Kong will handle everything. Perish together. Do you even deserve to?" As the words fell, I launched a ferocious kick. This kick contained the full power of a rank 9 taboo, coupled with the mech's thrust. It landed squarely on the giant bat's stomach, with a massive boom. That blood-red energy sphere that had not fully formed detonated on the spot. The giant bat was kicked flying by me. It flew for dozens of kilometers, carving a long trench into the ground. I did not chase after him. Instead, I calmly opened the mech's comms channel. He spoke into it. "Commander Wang, are the nukes ready? Send me a small tactical one. Aim it right at his landing coordinates." On the other side, Wang Li heard me and paused for just a second. "Launch the nuke," Wang Li roared. Following his order, a silo in the distance slowly opened. A tactical nuke soared into the sky, trailing exhaust. It streaked across the sky, heading straight for the giant bat's location. Dozens of kilometers away, the vampire count had just crawled out of the ruins, without a single piece of intact flesh on his body. He dragged his broken body, preparing to spread his wings and flee. But the moment he looked up, he saw a white missile plummeting from the sky. It was unimaginably fast. His pupils contracted violently, instinctively sensing extreme danger. He wanted to run, but it was already too late. The nuke landed perfectly on his head. A blinding white light, brighter than the sun, exploded. A mushroom cloud surged into the sky. The ground within a several-kilometer radius was instantly scorched. The shockwave spread in all directions at visible speeds. Even from dozens of kilometers away, the soldiers in the distance still felt the violent tremor of the earth. Everyone stared intently at that scene. The mushroom cloud gradually dissipated, wearing the mech, I flew to the center of the explosion, in the scorched ruins. I found the vampire count. He was still alive, but it was a gruesome sight. His body had completely lost its human shape, scorched black all over. 3 of his 4 limbs were severed. His only remaining hand was weakly clawing at the dirt. Although his regenerative ability was strong, the radiation and extreme heat from the nuke caused his cells and flesh to completely necrotize. His recovery speed dropped to practically 0. He raised his head and saw my mech appear before him, his eyes filled with absolute terror. "You humans, what kind of terrifying power have you harnessed? You do not need to know," as the words fell softly. He reached out the mech's giant hand and crushed his skull. With a crack, the vampire count lost all signs of life. Report: target has been eliminated. After 3 seconds of silence. Beautifully done, Mr. Kong. You are the hero of the GA Nation. Save the slogans. Tell logistics to bring me some batteries immediately. After fighting for this long, I am almost out of juice. As I said this, the comms channel erupted in laughter again. However, before I could even catch my breath, a crimson light suddenly illuminated the horizon. The temperature spiked dramatically. The dirt under my feet began to crack. On the distant horizon, a massive fiery red figure was slowly walking over. With every step, the earth beneath its feet turned to magma. It was at least 300 meters tall. Its entire body was covered in flowing lava, like a walking volcano. This was exactly the fire giant mentioned in the intel earlier. He had not even stepped inside when Wang Li's face turned pale again. Mr. Li Yunting grabbed the communicator. "Oh man, the giant is here. How are you holding up? Can you still fight?" I looked at that pink figure in the distance, frowned, and said, "I can." To be honest, the fight with the vampire count took a toll. My energy is down to 60%, but he is 300 meters tall, 100 meters shorter than me, covered in flames. My lightning is the perfect counter. "It should not be a big deal," he replied. "I can fight, but you have to recharge me afterward. Otherwise, I am really going to shut down." With that, I deactivated the mecha and returned to my 400-meter true form. The mecha did not have much energy left, so I saved it for a critical moment. By now, the flame giant had seen me. He stopped in his tracks, then let out a deafening roar. "Are you the one who killed that vampire?" The flame giant said in a deep voice. "Not bad. You look pretty energetic. Swallowing you will extend my life by at least 1,000 years. Extend my life, my ass. Believe it or not, I will kick you right into the ocean." Hearing this, the flame giant was taken aback, then flew into a rage. He raised a massive fist and swung it at me with terrifying heat. I dodged to the side, narrowly avoiding the punch. The fist slammed into the ground, instantly melting a crater hundreds of meters wide. Magma splattered everywhere. I did not waste any words. I raised my hand and blasted a lightning bolt right at his chest. With a loud sizzle, the magma on the flame giant's chest was struck by the lightning and instantly solidified. A large chunk of it turned into black rock. The flame giant looked down, and the arrogant look on his face vanished, replaced by a hint of surprise. Lightning. He quickly reacted. The magma across his body surged, melting the solidified parts back down. Then, he threw both fists at me in a furious barrage. I dodged and countered with lightning. Every time a bolt struck, a patch of his body would solidify, but his recovery speed was incredible. It would solidify, then melt again, melt, and then get blasted by me again. For a moment, it was an even fight, but I gradually noticed something. Although this guy had immense strength and decent speed, he did not seem very bright. His fighting style was completely reckless, with zero technique. So, I deliberately left an opening, letting him punch me right in the shoulder. Scorching magma splashed all over me, making me wince in pain. But as he pulled his fist back, I grabbed his wrist and threw him over my shoulder. With a massive boom, the 300-meter flame giant was slammed onto the ground. The earth cracked open. Before he could even get up, he pinned him down and rained lightning-infused punches onto his head. 1 punch. 2 punches, 3 punches. Every blow carried purple lightning and solidified the magma on his face. He struggled, trying to shake me off, but my 400-meter weight, combined with my Tier 9 power, held him down firmly. He could not even roll over. After more than a dozen punches, the flame giant's head was beaten beyond recognition. Magma and solid rock mixed together. He was becoming more and more sluggish. Finally, he let out a pitiful wail. With a trembling voice, the flame giant cried out, "Stop hitting me! Stop! I surrender. I surrender." Why did not you say so earlier? You just had to get beaten up to behave. Then I grabbed him by the scruff of his neck, lifted him up like a little chicken, threw him over my shoulder, and marched back to the base, carried on my shoulder. The flame giant's magma cooled down quite a bit. He looked like a deflated balloon. He asked weakly, "Where are you taking me?" "To work. What is work?" After returning to the base, I tossed the flame giant onto the ground. This guy is made entirely of magma. His temperature is at least 1,000 degrees. Stuff him into the thermal power plant and let him boil water to generate electricity for the whole country. Hearing my words, Wang Li stood stunned for a solid 5 seconds. Then, the researchers behind him all had their eyes light up at the same time. One researcher slapped his thigh in excitement and yelled, "That is genius! A living flame giant, with a constant body temperature of over 1,000 degrees. If we just put him in the boiler, he is literally a perpetual motion machine. The country's electricity bills will be cut in half." Wang Li snapped out of it and smiled, immediately arranging for personnel to transport the flame giant to the nearest thermal power plant. The flame giant was stuffed into a specially made heat-resistant container. He was howling the entire way. The flame giant roared in anger. "Let me out. I am a magnificent Tier 9 flame monarch. How dare you treat me like this?" But no one paid him any attention. After arriving at the power plant, the researchers stuffed him into a massive boiler. His body heat instantly turned the water inside into steam. The steam turbines kicked in, and the power output surged more than tenfold. The power plant manager stared at the numbers on the dashboard, tears of excitement welling up in his eyes. He said with a trembling voice, "I have been in this industry for 30 years, and I have never seen power generation like this. This one flame giant is worth 10 nuclear power plants." Meanwhile, the flame giant inside the boiler had completely given up. He realized that he could not move at all inside the sealed boiler, and every time he tried to erupt, an electric shock would surge from the boiler walls, paralyzing his entire body. That was an electric shock device specially installed by the researchers. If he misbehaved, they would shock him. 3 days later, the flame giant completely gave up resisting, and obediently boiled water in the boiler. Occasionally you could hear his resentful voice coming from inside. He said begrudgingly, "I, a magnificent Tier 9 flame monarch, reduced to boiling water for humans. If my kind out there finds out about this, how could I ever face them again?" But no one cared about his feelings. After dealing with this guy, I found Wang Li and pitched an idea to him. I said, "This flame giant power plant could totally be turned into a national tourist attraction. Let people from all over the country come and visit. On one hand, it boosts government revenue. On the other, it lets the public see with their own eyes that these other dimensional creatures are not that scary. It will help stabilize public morale, and not just the flame giant power plant." I also suggest that Shah country open up its borders and invite all the races from the other dimension to visit. We can develop a tourism economy. Those races might have magic, but their material lives are actually very poor. Sia country's food, clothes, and electronics are all novelties to them. As long as they come, they will definitely spend money. It is a win-win. After hearing my proposal, Wang Li pondered for a long time. Then, he picked up the phone and reported it to his superiors. The very next day, the approval came down, granted. And so, over the following month, the flame giant power plant officially opened to the public. Tickets were priced at 200, but that did not stop. The hordes of tourists flocking in from all over the country. The daily queue stretched from the power plant entrance all the way to the highway exit 3 kilometers away. Tourists peered through the explosion-proof glass, looking at that gloomy, depressed flame giant inside the boiler. They excitedly took photos and checked in. One tourist pointed at him and said, "Look. Look, that is the Tier 9 flame giant. Now he is boiling water to generate electricity for us." Another tourist laughed. "Ha ha ha. That is too tragic. A glorious Tier 9 life form reduced to a power tool. This is hilarious." The flame giant in the boiler was fuming. He was so angry his magma started bubbling, but the shock collar instantly zapped him. He behaved himself immediately. At the same time, Sia country officially sent out travel invitations to the various races of the other dimension. The first to arrive were some low-level elves and dwarves. After entering Shia country, they were absolutely stunned by what they saw. Skyscrapers, neon lights, cars, smartphones, and all kinds of delicious food. The elven envoy stood on the pedestrian street, staring at the dazzling array of goods on both sides. His jaw dropped so low you could fit a fist in it. The elven envoy said in shock, "Is this human civilization without magic? It is simply unbelievable." As for the dwarven representative, he dove straight into the technology pavilion, looking at all the precision machinery and electronic components. His eyes glowed with envy. The dwarven representative excitedly noted, "The structure of these gadgets is more exquisite than what our top dwarven artisans could ever forge. How do they do it?" As more and more other dimensional races visited Jeshia country, the nation's tourism revenue skyrocketed. In just 1 month, they generated revenue equivalent to billions. Furthermore, these other dimensional races had massive spending power. An elven noble could easily spend magic gold equivalent to 100,000 gold coins on the pedestrian street in a single day. Converted to Shia country's currency, that is millions, the country was making a fortune. But the good times did not last. Just as Shia country's tourism economy was booming, a malicious roar suddenly echoed above the border. The sound shook the clouds. Soon after, 3 massive dragons flew in from the horizon. The leading golden dragon was a full 200 meters long. It was followed by 2 100-meter-long dragons. They flew straight to the airspace above Jaya country's border. The golden dragon looked down at the cities below and spoke with an arrogant voice, "Humans of Shaya country, listen up. Your tourism industry has severely impacted the interests of the dragon clan. Massive amounts of magic gold are flowing into your country, causing the price of magic gold in our world to skyrocket. The Dragon Clan demands that you shut down your tourism industry immediately, otherwise face the consequences." Hearing this, the soldiers on the border immediately sounded the alarm and relayed the message back to headquarters. At that moment, I was eating hot pot with Su Qingyu at the base. That is right, during this time, my relationship with Su Qingyu had indeed improved a lot. Although we were not officially together yet, we could at least share a meal. However, her mouth was still as sharp as ever. She would constantly bicker with me. When I received the news, I still had a piece of beef tripe pinched in my chopsticks. I put down my chopsticks and stood up. Su Qingyu looked at me and asked, "What are we going to do?" I said, "The dragons are looking for trouble." Su Qingyu blinked and calmly replied, "Then go beat them up. Is not beating people up what you are best at anyway?" I chuckled. "Beating up dragons, this will be a first." With that, I transformed into my true form. My 400-meter body rose from the ground. I equipped my mecha and flew toward the border. When I reached the border, the 3 giant dragons were still hovering in mid-air. The golden dragon looked at me, a hint of caution flashing in its eyes. After all, my reputation as a Tier 9 powerhouse had already spread throughout the other dimension. But he still tried to save face. He sneered, "Are you that Tier 9 ape? I advise you to mind your own business. Dragon Clan affairs are not something you can meddle in." I looked at this golden dragon, tilted my head, and said in a low, muffled voice, "You are flying around in my territory and threatening me. Do you think you're some kind of tough guy?" Hearing this, the golden dragon was furious. It opened its massive maw, and a stream of golden dragon breath hurtled straight toward me. I did not even dodge. I just raised my mecha's electromagnetic cannon and fired right into the dragon breath. The blast pierced through the breath and scored a direct hit on the golden dragon's jaw. The golden dragon let out a piteous cry. Half of its jaw was completely shattered. The dragon breath was cut short. The 2 dragons behind it immediately lunged at me, trying to flank me from the left and right, with my left hand grabbing one and my right hand's high-frequency laser blade swinging up. I sliced the left dragon's wing right off. Then I landed a swift kick on the right dragon, sending it crashing into the ground. The entire process took less than 5 seconds. All 3 giant dragons were down. The golden dragon covered its shattered jaw, its eyes full of terror and disbelief. It had not expected that a majestic Tier 8 peak golden dragon like itself would not even last a single round. I walked over and stepped on the golden dragon's head, pinning it to the ground. "What was that you were saying earlier? Telling me to shut down the tourism industry or face the consequences? Say it again." The golden dragon opened its mouth, making incoherent noises. Its jaw was shattered, so it could not speak clearly, but from its eyes, I could read one word: mercy. I lifted my foot, grabbed the golden dragon and the other 2 dragons, tied them together with steel cables, and dragged them back to the base. Once back at the base, I tossed the 3 dragons onto the ground and said to Wang Li, "These 3 dragons build me 3 dragon theme parks. Tickets are 500. Tourists can ride them for photos. Firth 0,000 per ride." Wang Li listened, her mouth twitching wildly, but she quickly broke into a smile. Wang Li gave a thumbs up and said, brilliant. And just like that, Shia Country got 3 new tourist attractions. As soon as the Dragon theme park opened, it became a massive hit nationwide. After all, who would not want to ride a real dragon? Scalpers jacked the ticket prices from $500 to $5,000, but they were still sold out everywhere. As for the Golden Dragon being ridden by tourists every single day, its tears had practically run dry. Since then, no other faction from the other dimension dared to mess with Shia Country, because whoever came got caught, every single one of them, and their fates were all the same: either go generate electricity or become a tourist attraction. Once the news spread, a saying circulated throughout the entire other dimension: never mess with Shia Country, or else you will be dragged off to work. And I finally got to live a normal life, eating with my parents during the day, bickering with Su Qingyu at night. If some blind fools ever came causing trouble, I would put on my mecha and go beat them up. Then I would drag them back to be another attraction for Shia Country. Days went by just like this. One evening, I was sitting on the roof of the base, bathed in the glow of the setting sun. Su Qingyu climbed up at some point and sat down beside me. She tilted her head to look at me and asked what I was thinking about. I looked at the distant horizon, where the other dimension met Shia Country. Even though the barrier had disappeared, Xia Country was safer than ever before, because no one dared to come anymore. I said, I was thinking about when I first transmigrated into a gorilla. I starved for over a month before getting my first bite of food. I got bitten by tigers, wrapped up by pythons. Even honey badgers bullied me. I thought my life was over then, but I never expected that, after all the twists and turns, I would end up back here and living better than before. Su Qingyu listened and smiled. She asked, do you still want to return to your normal height now? I looked down at my 35-meter tall body, then at the 16-meter tall Su Qingyu beside me, scratched my head, and said, forget it. This is pretty good too. At least it is convenient for fighting. Su Qingyu stepped on my foot. She kicked my shin, muttering, all you know is fighting. Ape brain? I smiled and did not argue, because she was right. I am an ape, after all. An ape that has come home. On the 3rd day after the Dragon theme park opened, I was gnawing on a chicken leg in the base cafeteria. Su Qingyu sat across from me, scrolling through her phone, laughing hysterically. I glanced up at her and asked what was so funny. She turned her screen to show me. It was a short video with the title, shocking. Golden Dragon ridden by a 5-year-old girl, taking photos on its head, in tears the whole time. In the video, the 200-meter-long Golden Dragon was tied up with special reins in the center of the park. A little girl with twin tails was sitting on top of its head, giggling non-stop, even patting the dragon's nose. Meanwhile, from the corner of the dragon's eye, a massive tear was indeed falling. The comment section was exploding. The most liked comment read, this dragon must have owed Shia Country a massive debt in its past life. I almost choked on my chicken leg reading that. But jokes aside, life had to go on, ever since the barrier vanished. Although there were no large-scale invasions for now, minor incidents of other dimensional creatures trespassing happened almost daily. Most of them were low-level creatures. The military could handle them on their own, but occasionally, a tier 5 or tier 6 would pop up, and that is when I had to step in. But none of them were a big deal. Most fights ended in just one exchange. What really gave me a headache was something else. My dad, Mr. Lutian. Ever since he found out how lucrative the other dimension tourism economy was, he got his hands on some business guide from God knows where, and kept pestering me every day about starting a business. He said he wanted to open a specialty shop for other dimensional goods, exclusively selling their fruits, ores, and magical materials. He even dragged my mom into studying business plans. My mom originally was not interested, but she could not resist my dad's daily nagging. Eventually she was convinced too. They even came up with a name for the shop. It was called Lou's Dimensional Goods. I stayed silent for a long time when I heard that name. Finally, I just said, Dad, as long as you are happy. But I never expected my dad to actually go through with it so quickly. The very next day, he went to Wang Li to apply for a business license. Wang Li was worn down by him for 3 days. Eventually, she could not take it anymore and approved a trial operation permit for him. The location was right next to the Flame Giant power plant on the commercial street. The day my dad got his license, he was as happy as a kid, dragging my mom along to decorate the storefront. Watching their busy figures from behind, my heart actually felt pretty warm. Even though I had turned into a mutated giant ape, and even though I had been through so much crazy stuff, my parents were still my parents. They worried about the same things, and kept themselves just as busy. Life stayed peaceful like this for about a week, until that night. I was woken up by a frantic knocking at my door. I opened it to find Wang Li. Her expression was grim, worse than I had ever seen before. What is wrong? Wang Li took a deep breath. News just came from Beijing. That Dark Knight Empire from before. They have sent an investigation team. They are looking for the vampire count. The investigation team found the count's remains in the ruins. The Dark Knight Empire is furious. Their empress has personally issued an order, demanding that Xia country hand over the killer of the count within 7 days. Otherwise, the Dark Knight Empire will march out in full force and fight to the bitter end. I froze for a moment after hearing that, then could not help but laugh out loud. That is it. They still dare to come. Let them come. I will catch as many as they send. Xia country is still short on a few tourist attractions anyway. This time is different. The Empress of the Dark Knight Empire is a true peak Tier 9, just a hair away from the legendary Tier 10. Furthermore, the Empire has at least 3 Tier 9 vampire princes, along with dozens of Tier 8 vampire marquises, and an army of millions of troops under their command. Interesting. So this was not a joke. This was a true super empire. The vampire count who came before was only considered middle management in the Dark Knight Empire, a peak Tier 9 Empress, and 3 Tier 9 princes. This lineup was definitely no joke. Although I was also Tier 9, I had not been promoted for long. In a real fight, I could handle 1 Tier 9 prince, but 3 at once would be tough, let alone a peak Tier 9 empress. I stayed silent for a while. What do the higher-ups think? The higher-ups are absolutely against handing you over. We will not give up our own hero. But they also hope to avoid a full-scale war if possible. It would be best if we could find a win-win solution. Let me think. After Wang Li left, I sat alone in my room and thought all night. First thing the next morning, I found Wang Li and told him my plan. Wang Li frowned deeply after hearing it. This plan is too risky. If anything goes wrong, the consequences will be unimaginable. There is no other way. The Dark Knight Empire's strength is clear as day. We do not have the upper hand in a head-on clash. We have to outsmart them. Wang Li pondered for a long time. Finally, she sighed and said she would report to the higher-ups. That afternoon, the approval came down, granted. So, over the next 3 days, I began my frantic preparations. First was recharging. I moved straight into the Flame Giant power plant and channeled all the electrical energy into my body. Inside the boiler, the Flame Giant was forced to work overtime. Boiling water, he was on the verge of tears. The Flame Giant wailed, "Can you let me rest for a bit? I have been burning for 3 days and 3 nights straight. My magma is almost dried up." But no one paid him any attention. The researchers simply, coldly cranked up the shock voltage. The Flame Giant immediately complied and obediently continued boiling water. 3 days of intense charging pushed my magic power to an unprecedented peak. The lightning inside me even started to condense on its own, forming a fist-sized solid core. This was the mark of the mid-tier 9 stage. In just 3 short days, I leaped from early tier 9 to mid-tier 9. Although there was still a massive gap to peak tier 9, it was much better than before. Second was the upgrade of my weapons and equipment. After receiving the orders, the National Military Industries worked overtime to build me a brand new mecha. This mecha was a whole size larger than the previous one. The entire body was made of the latest composite armor. It had 2 built-in electromagnetic cannons, a high-frequency laser sword, and a 6-tube nuclear missile launcher on its back. The chest reactor was upgraded to fusion as well. The energy it provided was 10 times that of the previous one. Wearing this mecha, my combat power would at least quadruple. The final and most crucial step, I needed a helper. So I went to where the Black Dragon was detained. That is right, the very same Black Dragon I had beaten up in Beijing. The Black Dragon. He was now locked up in a specially made cage. His daily task was brewing shape-shifting potions and cooperating with researchers for various experiments. He was living a very suffocating life, but it was much better than the Flame Giant and those 3 dragons. At least he did not have to generate power or be ridden as a mount. I walked up to the cage and looked down at the curled-up Black Dragon inside. The moment he saw me, he shivered all over and quickly shrank into the corner, covering his head with his wings. Grandpa Gorilla, I have been very obedient lately. I make the potions on time, and I cooperate with the experiments. Please do not hit me. I squatted down. Do not be nervous. I'm not here to hit you this time. I am here to ask if you want to get out. Get out? What do you mean? The Dark Knight Empire is attacking us. I need a helper. If you are willing to help, I can set you free after the battle. I can even arrange a legal identity for you in Xia country. From then on, you will be a citizen of Xia country. You can live wherever you want and eat whatever you want. After hearing this, The black dragon stayed silent for a long while. Then his eyes lit up, and he asked eagerly, "Really? You are not lying to me?" I nodded. "I am not lying to you. I am in. Tell me who to hit, and I will hit them. As long as I can get out, I will fight anyone. But speaking of which, those vampires from the Dark Knight Empire are indeed annoying. They tried to catch me and use me as a mount before. I have been sick of them for a long time. Then it is a deal." I nodded in satisfaction. Just like that, my team gained a black dragon. All preparations were completed by the 5th day. On the 6th day, I gathered all relevant personnel for a pre-war meeting in the base's operations room. Wang Li stood in front of the projector, displaying the Dark Knight Empire's military deployment one by one. Wang Li said, according to reconnaissance, the main force of the Dark Knight Empire has massed 3,600 kilometers outside of Beijing. Their total troop strength is around 12 million, including 3 Tier 9 princes, 12 Tier 8 marquises, and a massive number of low-level vampire soldiers. The Empress herself has not yet appeared, but according to intelligence, she is in the mobile palace at the rear. After finishing, Wang Li looked at me. I stood up, walked over to the projector, pointed at the Dark Knight Empire's troop deployment, and laid out my plan. The plan is divided into 3 parts. Part 1. The regular Xia military will hold the Beijing defense line, using the firepower advantage of modern weapons to draw in the Dark Knight Empire's main force. Part 2. I will flank them in my new Mecha, heading straight for those 3 Tier 9 princes, and take them down one by one. Part 3, which is also the most critical. While I am pinning down the 3 princes, the Black Dragon will carry a specialized nuclear bomb, fly high above, and circle around to the rear of their army to drop the bomb directly on their mobile palace. This will force the Empress out once she shows up. I will have a way to deal with her. After hearing my plan, Wang Li asked me how I intended to deal with a peak Tier 9 Empress. I smiled and said, "You will know when the time comes." Although Wang Li was worried, she did not press the issue any further. After the meeting ended, everyone started their final preparations. That night, Su Qingyu came looking for me. For once, she did not bicker with me, but sat quietly beside me. "Can you promise me one thing?" "What is it?" "You have to come back alive." I glanced at her and said, "I am a magnificent Tier 9 powerhouse, wearing the latest fusion-grade mecha, carrying a nuke on my back with a black dragon in tow, and the entire Xia military behind me. If I still can't make it back, I might as well just bash my head against a piece of tofu and die." Then, while my guard was down, she stood on her tiptoes and kissed me on the chin, because she was only 16 meters tall, and I was 35 meters tall. The highest point she could reach was just my chin. After the kiss, she turned and ran. She ran quite a distance before looking back. Her face was as red as a tomato. As she yelled at me, "If you dare to die out there, I will go to the underworld and drag you back out." With that, she disappeared around the corner of the hallway. I touched my chin and stood stunned for a good while. Finally, I chuckled to myself, this woman is really fierce. Before dawn on the 7th day, the entire Beijing defense line had already entered maximum combat readiness. Looking from the satellite map, the Beijing defense line stretched for hundreds of kilometers. On the steel walls, there was an artillery cannon every 50 meters. Behind the walls lay dense formations of troops. Further back were thousands of tanks and heavy armored vehicles. In the sky, hundreds of fighter jets flew in formation. This was the largest-scale military mobilization in the history of Xia country. The total troop count exceeded 800,000, encompassing the army, Navy, and Air Force, as well as the newly formed Other Dimension Special Forces. He stood at the highest point of the city wall, wearing my brand new fusion-grade mecha. My 400-meter true form combined with the heavy armor made me look like a towering god of steel. Beside me was the Black Dragon. He had been scrubbed completely clean today, and his scales were even polished by the researchers. He looked quite majestic. However, the nuclear bomb strapped to his back somewhat ruined the aesthetic. The Black Dragon swallowed nervously and asked, "Is that thing really safe? What if it blows up while I am flying?" I glanced at him and said, "Relax. It is the latest model. It won't detonate unless the code is entered. Even if you drop it from 10,000 meters up, it won't go off." The Black Dragon finally sighed in relief, but he was still extremely careful, terrified of bumping it against anything. On the distant horizon, a massive black cloud was slowly moving closer. It was the Dark Knight Empire's army. 12 million vampire soldiers, blotting out the sky and covering the earth above them. Three massive dark figures hovered in midair, radiating a terrifying aura. Those were the three Tier 9 vampire princes. Each of them had lived for over 1,000 years, possessing overwhelming combat power. And at the very rear of the army, a black mobile palace was slowly approaching. Sitting inside was the Empress of the Dark Knight Empire. Wang Li, standing in the rear command post, spoke to me through the communicator. Mr. Kong, the enemy has entered firing range. Do we open fire? He took a deep breath, looked at the overwhelming enemy forces and said one word: fire. In an instant, the entire Beijing defense line erupted into a sea of fire. Tens of thousands of people watched as countless flares streaked across the sky. Artillery shells rained down relentlessly. The deafening explosions linked together like rolling thunder. Immediately after, the battlefield was engulfed, and huge numbers of vanguard troops were crushed. The Dark Knight Empire's formations were blown to pieces, but the Dark Knight Empire's army did not falter for long. After the initial chaos, they quickly stabilized their lines. Although the low-level vampire soldiers suffered heavy casualties, the mid-level and higher vampires all activated their blood-red energy shields, deflecting the artillery and missiles. The three Tier 9 princes were completely unharmed. One of the princes, wearing a red cloak, glanced disdainfully at the fiery explosion. He sneered. You think this pathetic firepower can stop the might of the Dark Knight Empire? As soon as he finished speaking, he raised his hand. A massive blood-red shockwave expanded outward, destroying all incoming shells within a radius of several miles. The other two princes also made their move. One summoned a sky full of blood bats, sending them swarming toward the fighter jet squadrons. The other transformed directly into a streak of darkness and flew toward the city wall. His speed was terrifyingly fast. The soldiers on the wall immediately aimed and fired their anti-air weapons frantically. But all of their fire missed in the blink of an eye. He was above the wall. He raised a massive pale hand and slammed it down toward the wall. If this palm strike hit its mark, this section of the wall, along with all the soldiers stationed on it, would be turned to dust. But just as his palm was about to land, a bolt of purple lightning struck his arm directly from the side. With a sharp sizzle, that pale arm was instantly scorched black. The prince let out a scream of pain, hastily pulled his arm back, retreated and looked up. It was me, clad in my mecha, charging in from the flank. I landed heavily on the wall, the steel structure beneath my feet groaning under the immense weight. Looking at the vampire prince in front of me, your opponent is me, I said in a deep, muffled voice. So you are the ape who killed the count? The prince shook his lightning-scorched arm. The wound was slowly healing. He sized me up, a hint of caution flashing in his eyes. I nodded. That is right. It was me. If you have got a problem, come at me. Stop picking on ordinary people, the prince sneered. What arrogance! As soon as he finished speaking, he turned into a blur of blood-red shadows and lunged at me. I did not hold back either. I activated the electromagnetic cannon on my left arm and fired a devastating blast straight at him. The shell collided with his blood-red aura, generating a massive shockwave that completely shattered the surrounding air. He was forced back by the electromagnetic shell, but quickly launched another attack. This time he did not attack head-on. Instead, he split into dozens of clones, coming at me from all directions. He gave a cold snort. The lightning inside my body surged, forming a spherical lightning field across the surface of my mecha. The moment those clones touched the lightning field, they crackled and were instantly destroyed. I took the opportunity to lock onto his true body and slashed out the high-frequency laser sword sliced through the air, cutting straight toward his waist. The prince was shocked and hastily retreated, but he was still half a beat too slow. The laser sword left a deep bone exposing wound across his waist. Blood spurted wildly. He clutched his wound, his expression shifting from a sneer to pure malice. Right at that moment, the other two princes noticed the situation on my end. Seeing their comrade injured, one of them, a young man in a black suit, completely abandoned his pursuit of the fighter jets and flew toward me. The other, a burly prince, also rushed over from a distance. All three Tier 9 princes were about to gang up on me. I had already anticipated this. So, the moment I forced the first prince back, I used my mecha's communicator to send a signal to the Black Dragon. The signal was just one word: drop. Hovering far in the rear, The black dragon received the signal. He took a deep breath, spread his wings, and while everyone's attention was focused on the front line, he bypassed the Dark Knight Empire's army from high above. He flew incredibly high, so high that he could not even be seen from the ground. Once he was directly above the mobile palace. He looked down at that massive black structure. He swallowed hard, then unlatched the nuclear bomb from his back, aimed it at the mobile palace, and simply dropped it. The exact moment the nuke detached, the black dragon turned and bolted. He flew so fast his wings nearly cramped. 3 seconds later, a blinding white light erupted from the rear of the Dark Knight Empire's army, immediately followed by an earth-shattering explosion. A mushroom cloud soared into the sky. Everything within a 10-kilometer radius was wiped out. The rear of the Dark Knight Empire's forces instantly descended into utter chaos. Those low-level vampire soldiers were caught in the nuke's shockwave and intense heat, and were vaporized into ash by the thousands. The 3 princes who were besieging me sensed the massive disturbance in the rear. Their faces instantly changed drastically. The prince in the red cloak snapped his head back, panicking immediately. "Your Majesty," he yelled. The area where the mobile palace had been was now a sea of ash. He immediately tried to fly back to the rear, but how could I let him get away? I grabbed him by the ankle, swung him fiercely, and yanked him right out of midair. The other 2 princes saw this, and attacked me simultaneously. One unleashed a blood-red dome to trap me inside, while the other summoned a blade of blood, and slashed at my head. I let go of the red-cloaked prince, parried the blood blade with the laser sword in my right hand, and sent them crashing down from the sky. But they were peak entities after all. Their regenerative abilities were incredible. They quickly got back on their feet. The 3 of them surrounded me once again, just as the fierce battle was raging. From the ruins in the rear, an aura chilling to the bone began to rise. Under the weight of that aura, everyone on the entire battlefield felt it. Whether it was the soldiers of Xia country, or the vampires of the Dark Knight Empire, they all stopped what they were doing, and simultaneously looked toward the rear. They saw a single figure slowly rising from the rubble. It was a woman, looking to be in her early 20s, her long silver hair fluttering in the wind. Her crimson eyes were as cold as ice. Her clothes had been torn to shreds by the nuclear blast, and she had quite a few wounds on her body, but her aura was still so overwhelmingly powerful that it was suffocating. The Empress of the Dark Knight Empire had personally taken the stage. Seeing the Empress safe and sound, the 3 princes instantly regained their courage, but seeing the wounds on her body, their faces turned extremely grim. The red-cloaked prince flew to the Empress's side, dropped to one knee, and said in distress, "The humans used a terrifying weapon. It was those humans they used it to ambush your palace. Ambushed your palace. Your subordinate failed to protect you. Please forgive me, Your Majesty." The Empress ignored him. Instead, she cast her gaze toward me in the distance. Those crimson eyes seemed able to see through everything. She spoke. Her voice was very soft, but every single person on the battlefield heard it loud and clear. "So, you are that King Kong." I stood in my Mecha, on top of the city wall, meeting her gaze. Even across a distance of dozens of kilometers, he could still feel her suffocating presence. This was the power of a peak tier 9. I felt the Empress's peak tier 9 power crushing down on me like a mountain. My chest felt like it was pinned under a massive boulder. "That is right. It is me. I am the one who killed your subordinate, and I am the one who bombed your palace. If you have got what it takes, come get me. Stop picking on the people behind me." Then she smiled, a very faint smile, but that smile sent chills down my spine. She said, "Interesting. I have not seen someone with such backbone in a long time. However, having backbone and having true power are 2 different things." With that, she raised her right hand and pointed a single finger at me from afar. A beam of blood-red light shot from her fingertip. It was so fast I did not even have time to react. With a loud bang, the beam struck me squarely in the chest. The toughest chest plate on my Mecha instantly caved in with a massive dent. Inside, alarms blared frantically. "Warning. Chest armor integrity compromised by 37%. Fusion reactor temperature abnormal. Immediate evasion recommended." Just from that one strike, I was almost pierced right through. A peak tier 9 was truly terrifying. He gritted my teeth, but did not retreat. Instead, I took a step toward her. Seeing this, the Empress's smile only grew wider. She raised her hand again, preparing to launch a second strike. But right at that moment, my true plan finally began. Actually, from the very beginning. My plan was never to fight the Empress head-on. I am not stupid. A mid-tier 9 against a peak tier 9. Even with the Mecha's boost, it would be hard to win. Not to mention she had 3 tier 9 princes under her command. So, My real plan was to stall for time, stall until a crucial asset was in place. During the pre-war meeting, when Wang Li asked how I would deal with a peak tier 9, I did not tell her, because that thing was too sensitive. I was afraid it would scare her. That thing was Xia country's newly developed superweapon, codenamed Heaven's Punishment. It was not a nuke. It was fiercer than a nuke. I did not fully understand the exact mechanics. The researchers explained it to me once. It seemed to involve dropping tungsten alloy rods directly from satellite orbit in space, using gravitational acceleration to generate an impact equivalent to a small nuclear bomb, but without the radiation, and its precision was extremely high. It could accurately strike a single target. The only problem was, this weapon required 30 minutes of preparation time. From locking onto the target to launching, it took exactly 30 minutes. So I needed to stall the Empress for 30 minutes, keep her from leaving. Just as the Empress was about to launch her second strike, I suddenly spoke up. Wait a minute, the Empress raised an eyebrow. He cleared my throat. Ahem. I have a question for you. A massive empire like yours, why bother making things difficult for our Xia country? To be honest, your count made the first move. I was merely acting in self-defense. If you insist on waging a full-scale war against us over a mere count, then you are a pretty terrible empress. What a sharp tongue. Did you think I would not see that you were stalling for time? My heart skipped a beat. This woman was sharp. She saw right through my goal at a glance. Stalling. What time am I stalling? I just genuinely wanted to chat with you. Look, you are quite pretty. Do not you think fighting a giant gorilla like me is beneath you? As my words fell, the battlefield fell silent for a brief second. The three princes all wore expressions of disbelief. This ape was actually flirting with Her Majesty. He must have a death wish. However, the Empress's reaction defied everyone's expectations. You are very amusing. She actually chuckled. If you are willing to surrender, I can spare your life. He can even crown you as a prince of the Dark Knight Empire. That is a much better deal than being a watchdog for humans. What is wrong with being a watchdog? At least I am guarding my own home. If you make me a prince over there, what would I be? A pet gorilla kept for your amusement. It seems you are refusing. Then do not blame me for showing no mercy. With that, the blood-red aura around her exploded. The entire sky was dyed crimson. The terrifying pressure suffocated the soldiers on the ground. Many were forced to their knees by the sheer weight. The three princes also unleashed their full power simultaneously. 4 Tier 9 entities applying pressure at once. This force felt like it could crush the heavens. I was crushed by this pressure to the point where my mecha began to creak and groan. But I stood my ground firmly, not retreating a single step. Meanwhile, I was frantically calculating the time in my head. How long has it been? 10 minutes, 20 minutes left. I have to stall for another 20 minutes. I gritted my teeth, unleashing all the lightning inside my body. Purple lightning surged wildly across the mecha's surface, fighting against the blood-red pressure. I took a step forward, footing it out. I forced my way against the pressure of 4 Tier 9's X. Stepping forward. With every step, a massive chunk of the ground beneath my feet shattered, but I adamantly refused to stop. Seeing this, a flash of seriousness finally appeared in the Empress's eyes. She could see it. Even though I was weaker than her, I would definitely not be easy to kill. So, she stopped wasting words with me and attacked directly. A blood-red beam of light shot from her fingertips once again. This time it was more condensed and far more terrifying than the last. I dodged to the side. The beam brushed right past me, piercing straight through a mountain hundreds of meters behind me. Before I could catch my breath, the three princes attacked simultaneously. The red-cloaked prince turned into a blood-red lightning bolt from the front. The black-armored prince flanked from the left. The burly prince flanked from the right. Add to that the Empress attacking from the rear. Attacks were coming from all directions. I fell into an unprecedented crisis. With the electromagnetic cannon on my left arm, I forced the red-cloaked prince back, sweeping my right arm's laser sword. I blocked the black-armored prince's blood blade, but the burly prince's fist smashed into me from the side, hitting me right in the waist. The mecha's waist armor shattered completely. The intense pain made me grunt, but I took the chance to grab the burly prince's arm. The Empress frowned. She did not expect me to use such a shameless fighting style, but she did not care either. She had plenty of cannon fodder under her command. Losing one meant nothing. Just like that, I fought as I retreated and struck back. I exploited the gaps in the three princes' coordination, constantly creating chaos, making them interfere with each other. We fought for about 10 minutes. The mecha on my body was already heavily damaged. The electromagnetic cannon on my left arm was destroyed. Only half of the laser sword on my right arm remained. The fusion reactor on my chest blared a piercing alarm, threatening to overload at any moment. But I kept fighting, still holding on. 10 minutes left. Just as I was about to reach my absolute limit, Wang Li's voice came through the communicator. Mr. Kong, the Heaven's punishment system is ready. Target is locked. Ready to fire at your command. Please confirm. Hearing these words, a huge weight lifted off my chest. But I did not show any emotion on my face, because, otherwise, the moment she sensed danger, she would immediately flee. Thinking of this, I fiercely tore off all the damaged mecha pieces on my body, exposing my 400-meter true form to the open air. Without the mecha, my speed surged. I grabbed a piece of the blown-off mecha shrapnel and hurled it right at the red-cloaked prince's face. Using the split second he dodged, he leaped with all my might, jumping straight out of the three princes' encirclement, and charged toward the empress in the rear. Seeing me rush at her, a cold light flashed in her eyes. She did not retreat, but met me head-on and landed a palm strike right on my chest. With a massive boom, I felt my sternum crack. Blood spilled from the corner of my mouth, but I took the hit head-on, grabbed her wrist, and simultaneously, my entire body erupted with lightning, engulfing her entirely in a prison of purple lightning. Struck by the electricity, the Empress let out a cry of pain, but she was a peak tier 9. After all, she quickly steadied herself and tried to break free, but I held on to her in a death grip. The more fiercely she struggled, the tighter I held on. At the same time, I roared into the communicator. Fire. As my voice fell, tens of thousands of meters high in the sky, a point of white light plummeted from space, faster and faster, tearing through the atmosphere with terrifying friction, like a javelin hurled by a god. The moment I grabbed her, the Empress sensed the fatal threat from above. She struggled desperately, using her blood-red power to scorch my palm pitch black, but I gritted my teeth and refused to let go. The three princes also saw the light falling from the sky, their faces turning pale with terror. They wanted to come save her, but it was already too late. In the split second the light point landed, I used every last ounce of my strength to slam her hard into the ground, while violently launching myself away, trying to create as much distance as possible. The moment Heaven's punishment descended, a sun brighter than anything lit up the sky over Beijing. The tungsten rod struck precisely where the Empress was located. There were no flames, no mushroom cloud, only a pure kinetic shockwave that expanded outward at a visible speed. The ground instantly collapsed, forming a massive crater 2 kilometers in diameter. The crater was over 300 meters deep. The surrounding earth was completely vaporized. Ha 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 ha. Everything in the vicinity was instantly leveled to dust. The shockwave swept through the Dark Knight Empire's army. Those low-level vampire soldiers were like scraps of paper. Tens of thousands of figures were sent flying into the sky. By the time they landed, they had no breath left. Even the 3 tier 9 princes were blown far away by the shockwave. The red-cloaked prince was buried directly under the rubble. The black-armored prince smashed into a cliff face, getting embedded entirely into the rock. As for me, even though I had launched myself away beforehand, I was still caught. By the shockwave my massive body was picked up, like a kite with a broken string, hurled several kilometers away, and crashed into a forest. After snapping a dozen trees, I finally came to a stop. I lay on the ground, not a single piece of my flesh intact. 3 ribs were broken. My left arm had lost almost all sensation. My mouth tasted entirely of blood, but I forced myself to get up, limping toward that crater. I needed to confirm if the Empress was dead. After walking for about 10 minutes, he reached the edge of the massive crater and looked down. The bottom of the crater was scorched black. There was nothing. It seemed everything had been vaporized. I let out a sigh of relief. She should be dead. But just as I was about to turn and leave, the scorched earth at the bottom of the crater suddenly twitched. My pupils shrank violently. Right after, a pale hand reached out from the burnt soil. Then a second hand. Then a head of silver hair. The Empress crawled out of the ruins. She looked 10 times more miserable than before. Her long silver hair was scorched. Blood oozed constantly from her wounds, but she was still alive. The vitality of a peak tier 9 was terrifying to this extent. She staggered to her feet and looked up at me standing at the edge of the crater. In those crimson eyes, fear and fury intertwined, but fear clearly had the upper hand. She opened her mouth. Her voice was so hoarse it was almost inaudible. She rasped, What was that? What kind of power have you humans grasped? He stood at the crater's edge, looking down at her. I was not in much better shape myself, covered in wounds. My left arm hung limply at my side, unable to lift it at all. But I still tried my best to keep my voice steady. I said, "This is called heaven's punishment, specially designed to deal with stubborn folks like you. Do you yield?" The Empress stayed silent for a few seconds. Her body was trembling slightly, whether from her injuries or sheer terror. Finally, she closed her eyes, and with a voice that could barely be heard, uttered 2 words, "I yield." I nodded, about to say something, but just then, the Empress at the bottom of the crater suddenly snapped her eyes open. A flash of madness in her eyes. She used every last drop of her strength to transform into a streak of blood-red light, shooting straight for my heart. It was so fast I had no time to react. I could only instinctively raise my right hand to guard my chest, but the blood light pierced right through my hand. It was about to impale my chest. At this critical hair-raising moment, a black shadow descended from the sky. It was the Black Dragon. He dive-bombed from high above, opened his massive maw, and bit down hard on that streak of bloodlight. At the same time, his massive body slammed down in front of me. A sizzling, burning sound came from the Black Dragon's mouth. He was trembling all over in pain, but he bit down dead hard, refusing to let go. Taking advantage of this crucial window, I channeled one last bolt of lightning into my left hand. I bypassed the Black Dragon and smashed it directly into the Empress's head. With a loud boom, the Empress's body completely disintegrated. It scattered into countless blood-red fragments. This time she was truly dead. The battlefield fell into a brief, eerie silence. Then, the Dark Knight Empire's forces. Without their Empress's command, those vampire soldiers were like headless flies. They fled toward the rear like a receding tide. The 3 heavily injured princes did not even care about their pride anymore, flying back for their lives. Xia country's 800,000-strong army marched out in full force. Orders for a general pursuit were immediately given. 800 troops. After the battle, they relentlessly pursued the Dark Knight forces, striking hard and pushing forward. This pursuit lasted for 300 kilometers. They did not stop until they reached the Dark Knight Empire's border. Xia country had won a great victory. As for me, I passed out the moment the battle ended. My stamina and magic were completely drained. He could not even stand. I collapsed beside the giant crater. By the time I woke up again, it was already 3 days later. I opened my eyes to see Su Qingyu's face. She had fallen asleep resting against the side of my bed. There were tear stains at the corners of her eyes. He shifted slightly. She woke up instantly. Seeing me open my eyes, she froze for a second. Then, tears just came pouring down. She cried while softly pounding my chest, saying, "You bastard. You scared me to death. Do you know you have been in a coma for 3 days? The doctors said you might not wake up. If you had really died, what would I do?" Her pounding made me wince in pain, because my wounds had not fully healed yet. But I did not stop her. He reached out with my still mobile right hand, patted her head, and said in a muffled voice, "Hey, I am not dead, am I? Stop crying. You look awful." Hearing my words, Su Qingyu cried even harder, but the corners of her mouth clearly curled up into a smile. It took a good while before she finally stopped crying. "Lu Tian, I have thought about it. I do not care if you are a gorilla or a human. I do not care if you are 35 meters or 400 meters tall. Starting today, you are my boyfriend. No objections allowed." I looked at her red eyes, smiled, and said, "All right, but I have one condition." She asked what condition. I said, "You are not allowed to call me Ape Brain anymore." Su Qingyu thought about it and said, "That won't work. You are an ape brain. That is just a fact." I sighed. "Fine. Whatever you say." I spent half a month recovering, under the dual care of Su Qingyu and my mom. I recovered very quickly. However, quite a few things happened during this half month. First, after the Empress of the Dark Knight Empire died, the Dark Knight Empire descended into chaos. Those 3 Tier 9 princes fought tooth and nail over the throne. They made a total mess of things. They had absolutely no energy left to cause trouble for Xia country. Wang Li took the opportunity to send diplomats to negotiate with the remaining factions of the empire. Ultimately, they signed a ceasefire agreement. The Dark Knight Empire recognized the cooperative relationship with Xia country and compensated us with a massive amount of magical materials and magic gold. At the same time, trade routes were opened, allowing merchants from the empire to do business in Xia country. Xia country made a huge profit again on this deal. Second, there was the matter of the Black Dragon. During the battle, The black dragon's mouth was severely burned. In order to save me, although dragons possess strong regenerative abilities, it would still take at least a month or two to fully heal. I kept my promise and had Wang Li arrange a legal Xia country identity for the black dragon. The name was chosen by the black dragon himself. After taking a shape-shifting potion, he transformed into a black-haired young man in his early 20s. Quite handsome too, he called himself Long Xiaohe. My only comment on that was 2 words. So cliché. However, after Long Xiaohe got his identity, the first thing he did was not going traveling, nor was it eating delicious food. He ran straight to me and asked if I could introduce him to a girlfriend. He said he had been locked in a cage for so long, and now that he was finally out, he wanted to experience human romance. I looked at his eager face, silently took out my phone, and downloaded a dating app for him. I told him, "Figure it out yourself, do not come to me. My own love life is still a tangled mess." Long Xiaohe was not happy about that. He said, "You already have Sister Su, how is it a mess?" He glared at him, and he finally slinked away. The third thing, and also the most important, after this war, my name thoroughly resounded throughout the entire other dimension. King Kong, a Tier 9 powerhouse, soloing 3 Tier 9 princes, slaying the Empress of the Dark Knight Empire, wiping out an army of 1,000,000 vampires in coordination with human weapons. Once these battle records spread, all the factions in the other dimension could not sit still anymore. But they did not come to cause trouble. They came to curry favor. First was the Elven race. The Elven Queen personally dispatched an envoy, bringing a sapling of the Millennial Tree of Life to Xia country. They said it was a gift for Mr. King Kong, and simultaneously requested to establish formal diplomatic relations with Jie country. The Dwarven race was not about to be outdone either. Their clan leader personally made the trip, bringing a warhammer forged from abyssal iron. They said it was a weapon for Mr. King Kong, expressing that the dwarves were willing to provide Xie country with their top-tier forging techniques. Even the Sea clan sent an envoy, delivering several deep-sea dragon pearls. It was said that a single pearl was invaluable. Even the black tortoise, who had previously been hiding thousands of miles deep in the ocean, had someone deliver a letter. The letter contained only one line: a formidable younger generation. Within a month, the number of envoys from the other dimension arriving in Xia country exceeded 100 batches. The base's reception desk was completely overwhelmed. Wang Li was so busy every day that her feet barely touched the ground. She kept muttering, "If I had known that winning a battle would bring this many benefits, I would not have worried so much back then." However, I mostly stayed out of these diplomatic affairs. I only had to make an appearance on key occasions to show our strength. Most of the time, I was busy with 2 things. The first thing was training. Through this massive war, I profoundly realized that my own strength was still lacking. If it were not for the Heaven's punishment weapon, I absolutely could not have defeated the Empress. What if, next time, an even stronger enemy appears that even Heaven's punishment can't solve? So, I had to keep getting stronger. And the way to get stronger was quite simple: recharging. The Flame Giant power plant became my dedicated training ground. I went there strictly every day to recharge for 3 hours, coupled with absorbing the residual blood-red energy left behind after the Empress's defeat. My strength improved rapidly. Mid-Tier 9, late Tier 9. The speed was several times faster than before. I estimated that in another 2 or 3 months, I would be able to break through to peak Tier 9. The second thing was spending time with Su Qingyu. That is right. We are officially together. Even though I am 35 meters and she is 16 meters, it does look a bit dangerous walking down the street. But Su Qingyu does not care at all. He even had me carry him while shopping. Said something about how people up high could spot discount stores earlier. I asked if he was using me as a human observation deck, and he just grinned and said, "Are not you just an oversized moving ladder?" What else could I do? I just had to carry him, but no matter how comfortable life gets, the troubles never really end. While I was recovering, my dad's Otherworld souvenir shop actually opened, and business was surprisingly good because his shop was right next to the Fire Giant power plant. The endless stream of tourists coming to see the Fire Giant would drop by his shop along the way. The stuff my dad sold was actually pretty legit. Things like the Elven Dew of Life, Dwarven crafts, and various emergency supplies. The best seller was something called Starlight Fruit. It is said to improve your skin after eating it. It was highly sought after by female consumers domestically, selling for thousands just for a single piece. My mom handled the cash register. My dad handled the inventory, and the 2 of them were happily busy. How good was the business? My dad's revenue for the first month exceeded 5 million. When he told me that number, My jaw almost dropped. I said, "Dad, you are amazing. You were in advertising design, but you actually have a talent for business." My dad chuckled and said, "What talent? It is all because of my son." Well, as long as he is happy, it is fine. I could not be bothered to manage him anyway. I am King Kong's dad. I could walk sideways on this street and nobody would say a word. After hearing that, the power plant and the dragon theme park have actually become the most popular tourist attractions nationwide. Oh, you are here. Can you lend me 100 grand? Hundreds of millions a day. Even if you became the richest man, what does that have to do with me? The money does not go into my pocket. The Dragon Theme Park has already become the country's hottest tourism project. The daily number of visitors exceeds 100,000. Ticket sales combined with merchandise can generate hundreds of millions in revenue a day. And as more and more otherworld factions come to Shia, Zia's economic structure is also undergoing a transformation. Mana Gold has become a new energy source. The elven life magic has been introduced to the medical field, and the dwarven forging technology is used in industrial manufacturing. The whole country is developing at a rapid pace. 2 months later, my power finally broke through to the peak of level 9. This time there was no heavenly tribulation, because lightning is already my power. The tribulation lightning could not do anything to me. The breakthrough process was very peaceful, just like water flowing into a channel. But after the breakthrough, he clearly felt a power completely different from before. The lightning at peak level 9 was no longer just pure destruction, but contained a hint of the power of laws. I could sense that, if I continued to cultivate, I would touch upon that legendary level 10, the divine level. But that is a story for another time. Right now, my biggest headache was not cultivation, but my dad, because his otherworld shop was too profitable. So profitable that it made the otherworld merchants jealous. One afternoon, I was charging up at the Fire Giant power plant when I suddenly got a call from my dad. His voice sounded a bit panicked, saying some uninvited guests came to the shop. It was a group of dwarven merchants. They claimed the dwarven crafts my dad sold infringed upon their intellectual property. They demanded a compensation of 10 million mana gold. Otherwise, they would sue him in the Elven Arbitration Court. I went silent for 3 seconds. Intellectual property. These dwarves are pretty trendy, actually knowing the concept of intellectual property. But come to think of it, with Jaya's increasingly frequent interactions with the otherworld, many modern concepts have spread over. It was not surprising that otherworld merchants learned the term IP. Not surprising at all. I told my dad not to panic. I was on my way. When I arrived at the shop, I saw 5 or 6 dwarves under a meter tall, standing at the counter with their hands on their hips, looking incredibly arrogant. The leader had a big beard, a small hammer tucked in his belt, and when he saw me walk in, he froze for a second. Then he immediately plastered on a merchant-like smile. The bearded dwarf said in broken Sia language, "Oh, this must be the famous Mr. King Kong. It is an honor to finally meet you. But business is business. The dwarven crafts your father is selling do indeed infringe on our dwarven patents." I looked down at this dwarf who barely reached my knee, then glanced at the crafts displayed on the counter. I crouched down, trying to make my voice as gentle as possible. I said, "Bro, these crafts were sold to my dad by your own people. We have receipts and contracts. Coming here now claiming infringement. Do not you think that is a bit unreasonable?" The bearded dwarf rolled his eyes and stated that the folks who sold them to us did not have authorization from the clan leader, so those contracts were invalid. Before I could even speak, my dad got anxious, slamming the counter and saying, "What do you mean invalid? How can a contract signed in black and white be invalid? You dwarves are totally untrustworthy." The bearded dwarf rolled his eyes again, saying in a very punchable tone, "Whether we are trustworthy or not is our business. Anyway, you either pay up or take down all dwarven crafts. Otherwise, we will see you in the arbitration court." Looking at the smug faces on these dwarves, I already knew what was up. They clearly got jealous seeing my dad make so much money and wanted to extort a sum. I stood up, did not bother arguing with them, and simply took out my phone to call Wang Li. On the other end, the moment Wang Li heard dwarven merchants were causing trouble, he immediately promised to be there in 5 minutes. Sure enough, in under 5 minutes, Wang Li brought 2 suit-wearing legal reps to the shop entrance. Once those 2 legal reps walked in, without a second word, they whipped out a stack of documents and slammed them down in front of the bearded dwarf. A legal rep said expressionlessly, "According to Article 17 of the Free Trade Agreement, signed between Xie and the dwarven clans, legal transactions conducted within Shia's territory are protected by Shia's laws. The contracts, signed voluntarily by your clan members, carry full legal weight. If you believe there is a dispute, you may resolve it through formal legal channels. But until then, Any behavior harassing business operators will be deemed as disrupting Shia's business environment. Bear the consequences yourself. The bearded dwarf's face changed upon hearing this. He turned to look at his people, then at the thick stack of legal documents in front of him, then up at my 35-meter height. Finally, his gaze fell on the 2 military jeeps parked outside the door. There were heavily armed soldiers sitting in them. The bearded dwarf's mouth twitched, and he squeezed out a smile uglier than crying. He laughed awkwardly and said, "Misunderstanding. It is all a misunderstanding. We just came to take a look, browse around. No other intentions." With that, he grabbed those dwarves and scurried away like rats. As he ran out the door, the bearded guy tripped over the threshold, almost falling flat on his face. My dad watched the dwarves' retreating backs and let out a long sigh of relief, patting my arm. He sighed. "My son is still the most reliable." I rolled my eyes, thinking, can you be a bit more careful doing business in the future, so you do not cause me trouble? Although the dwarven IP issue was resolved, it served as a wake-up call for me. As Shia's exchanges with the other world deepened, various disputes and conflicts would definitely increase. Just relying on me showing up to solve things was not a long-term solution. So that night, I went to find Wang Li and made a suggestion. I said Shia should establish a specialized Otherworld Affairs Management Department responsible for handling diplomacy with Otherworld races, trade, and legal disputes. Simultaneously, we also needed to train our own magical talents and not always rely on otherworld forces. Wang Li nodded repeatedly after hearing this, saying he had wanted to bring this up with the higher-ups for a while, but just had not found the right time perfect. Using this dwarven incident as an excuse, he wrote a report that very night and submitted it. A week later, the Shia Otherworld Affairs Administration was officially established, known as the OAO for short. Wang Li was appointed as its first director, and I was granted the title of honorary advisor. Honestly, it just meant being a mascot. If something happened, they would call me out for show, and when nothing was happening, I did my own thing. I was extremely satisfied with this arrangement. Life went on peacefully like this for 3 months. Sia's otherworld economy had gotten right on track. The Fire Giant power plant's daily power generation was equivalent to 10% of the national total. The Dragon theme park became the hottest tourist spot globally. My dad's otherworld souvenir shop had already opened 3 branches. My mom even learned to cook with elven herbs, and the food tasted surprisingly good. I ate until I was stuffed every day. Su Qingyu nagged me constantly, saying, if I kept eating like this, I would not be a big gorilla. I would be a big pig. Just when everyone thought life would stay this good forever. The biggest faction in the other world finally could not sit still. The Black Dragon Clan. That is right, the Black Dragon Clan. The Black Dragon I had beaten up before was just a fringe member of the clan. But the true Black Dragon Clan was one of the oldest and most powerful factions in the other world. Within the clan, there was a true level 10 entity, the Dragon Emperor, a 1,000-meter dragon, who supposedly had lived for over 10,000 years. When I was checking the intel before, I had seen his profile. At the time, I just felt that 1,000-meter dragon must be very far from me, but I never expected him to come in person. It was a sunny day, cloudless. I was playing chess with Su Qingyu at the base. She had beaten me 3 times, and right as she was smugly laughing at me, the horizon suddenly darkened. I looked up, and a massive shadow appeared from the skyline, getting closer, getting bigger, until his entire figure was fully revealed in front of us. Everyone was stunned. It was a dragon, a giant dragon over 1,000 meters long, covered completely in pitch black scales, each scale as large as a house, with both wings spread. It simply blocked out the entire sky. His eyes were like lanterns, giant golden pupils. Just a single sweeping glance made everyone in the entire base feel an oppressive aura coming from the depths of their souls. Level 10 divine entity, the legendary Dragon Emperor. The base's alarms instantly blared, and all weapon systems aimed skyward. Wang Li's voice was trembling, but he forced himself to issue the command. All units enter highest combat readiness. Activate the Sky Strike system. All nukes stand by. But everyone knew that against a level 10 being, how effective these weapons would be was completely unknown. Ski Strike was powerful, but against a peak level 9, a level 10 Dragon Emperor, whose physical strength was several times that of a peak level 9, whether it could even pierce through was questionable. I stood up, looking at that behemoth in the sky. The pressure in my heart was more than 10 times greater than facing the Night Empress. But I did not retreat. Su Qingyu grabbed my hand. Her hand was shaking, but she did not say do not go, nor did she say I am scared. She just looked at me and said, come back early. I am making dinner tonight. I smiled, squeezed her hand and said, Okay, wait for me. With that, I reverted to my true form. My 400-meter body stood on the earth, locking eyes with the 1,000-meter dragon in the sky. In front of him, I was like a child standing before a giant. But I did not back down, and I could not back down. Behind me were my parents, Su Kingyu, and the entirety of Shea. The Dragon Emperor looked down at me, a flash of curiosity in his golden pupils. He spoke up, his voice echoing like heavenly thunder, making the earth tremble. The Dragon Emperor said, "Are you King Kong, the ape that killed the Night Empress?" I tilted my head up at him, grunting back, "That is right. That is me. Speak your mind, and stop scaring the people behind me." The Dragon Emperor went silent for a few seconds, then let out a low chuckle. The whole sky hummed with it. After laughing, he said, "I did not come here to fight you today, but to talk business." Talk business. That reply caught me off guard, and everyone else as well. The Dragon Emperor continued, "Your Shea tourism economy. I have heard about it even in my lair. The Fire Giant Power Plant. The Dragon Theme Park. You actually made the younger dragons act as mounts for humans. I won't hold you accountable for that, but I have a condition." I frowned. "What condition?" The Dragon Emperor said, "I want to partner with Shea. The dragon territories have vast mineral veins and magical resources, but we dragons are not good at managing them. You humans are good at doing business. I will allow you to develop resources in dragon territory, but we split the profits 50 per 50. Also, I want you to build a 5-star resort for the dragons. I heard you humans have something called hot springs. I want to soak." Dead silence all around. Everyone looked as if they had seen a ghost. A 1,000-meter dragon, a level 10 Dragon Emperor, one of the most powerful beings in the world, came all the way here just to soak in a hot spring. I opened my mouth, not knowing what to say. After a long while, I managed to squeeze out, "With your 1,000-meter body, how huge a hot spring do we need for you?" The Dragon Emperor rolled his eyes. "I can shrink. You think I am like you, only able to get bigger but not smaller." With that, the Dragon Emperor's body began shrinking rapidly, from 1,000 meters to 500, then 100, 50, 10. Finally, he turned into a middle-aged man in black clothes, standing about 2 meters tall, a stern face, extraordinary presence, except he still had 2 little dragon horns on his head, which looked a bit comical. The middle-aged man stood with his hands behind his back, looking down his nose at everyone and said, "Well, can I get a hot spring now?" I looked at this guy who acted so proud, but actually just ran all the way here to soak in a hot spring. Suddenly, I found it kind of funny, so I also transformed into human form. Standing in front of him at 35 meters, he still towered over him. I said, "Sure, the hot spring is easy, but 50 per 50 does not work. Zia provides the tech, the manpower, and the management. You only provide the resources 30% for you, max." The Dragon Emperor frowned 40%. I shook my head 35%. "Take it or leave it." The Dragon Emperor glared at me. I glared back. We stood off for about 10 seconds, and the Dragon Emperor caved first. He snorted, "Fine, 35% it is, but the hot spring must be top tier. I want it custom made." I held out my hand. "Deal." The Dragon Emperor glanced at my hand, hesitated for a moment, but ultimately reached out and shook it. The moment we shook hands, he clearly felt his grip strength was absurdly high, but I was not losing either. After charging and cultivating for so long, my strength was no joke. The two of us secretly competed for a couple of seconds, then released at the same time. Neither of us lost face. The Dragon Emperor pulled back his hand, the corner of his mouth turning up slightly. Then he turned and walked away without a word. After a few steps, he turned back and said, "Lu Cheng, build that hot spring quick. I won't wait too long." With that, he turned into a streak of black light and vanished over the horizon. After he left, the entire base let out a long sigh of relief. Wang Li slumped right onto the floor, wiping cold sweat and saying, "I thought a war was breaking out." He nearly had a heart attack. I breathed a sigh of relief too. To be honest, if the Dragon Emperor really wanted to fight, I did not have total confidence in winning. A level 10 entity could not be stopped by mere weapons. Fortunately, this Dragon Emperor was pragmatic, knowing cooperation was more profitable than a fight, and he actually wanted to soak in a hot spring. That completely changed my impression of the dragon race. Turns out, even the most powerful beings have a down-to-earth side. The Dragon Emperor's visit became a milestone event in Jia's otherworld diplomatic history. That night, major media outlets were all reporting on it. The headlines were all over the place. Some said, 1,000-meter dragon visits just for a hot spring. Others wrote, Mr. King Kong shakes hands with Dragon Emperor, seals 35% deal. And there were also ones like, Shia and dragons reach historic cooperation agreement. The internet comments blew up. Someone said, Shia is amazing. Even the Dragon Emperor comes to collaborate. Another said, Mr. King Kong is ruthless at bargaining, actually dared to offer 35%. Some even said the Dragon Emperor wanting a hot spring was too cute. Someone even started a poll, asking if the Dragon Emperor would wear a swimsuit in the hot spring. The result, 80% voted he would not. The logic being, he is the Dragon Emperor. After all, he has got to maintain his dignity. That news rocketed straight to the #1 trending spot. A week later, Zia's partnership with the dragons officially launched, and I was put in charge of overseeing the Dragon Emperor Hot Spring Resort's construction. They called it overseeing, but it was really because the Dragon Emperor did not trust anyone else, and insisted I keep an eye on things myself. When I got to the construction site, holy crap! The scale of this hot spring resort was way bigger than I would imagined. The main pool alone was the size of a football field, because even though the Dragon Emperor could shrink, he said soaking in a hot spring required a big pool. Anything small would be uncomfortable. I said, you are 2 meters tall. Soaking in a pool the size of a football field is not that a huge waste. The Dragon Emperor calmly replied, I have money. I do what I want. I had absolutely nothing to say to that. The resort took 2 months to build. Once it was finished, the Dragon Emperor came to inspect it. He shifted into his human form, wearing a black bathrobe, flip-flops on his feet, and sunglasses on, looking just like a wealthy boss. He strolled around the resort once. Finally, he got into the hot spring, closed his eyes, and let out a sigh. Comfortable. The Dragon Emperor just said 2 words, not bad. Just those 2 words. That was probably the most concise 5-star review I had ever heard. After the Dragon Emperor Hot Spring Resort opened, it immediately became the top premium destination sought after by otherworld elites. Tickets were priced at 10,000 each, but reservations were booked out for half a year, because it was not just dragons coming to soak. The Elven Elders came, the Dwarven clan leader came, even the Black Tortoise of the Sea clan sent someone to ask if we could build a branch. By the sea, Shaz tourism revenue hit new highs again. The GDP that year was triple what it was before I crossed over, and those otherworld factions, who went from being wary and hostile at first, had now turned into eager partners. There was no helping it. Zia was just too good at business. You come to fight, you lose. You trade, you can't out-earn us. You try diplomacy, we will school you. Eventually, everyone figured out that partnering with Xie was the most profitable choice, because we had the best technology, the most abundant goods, the most comprehensive legal system, and a peak level 9 ape ready to smash anyone into the dirt at any time. From then on, no faction dared to cause trouble in Xie again, because everyone knew messing around in Xie either got you sent to generate power, or turned into a tourist attraction. Zia became universally recognized as the #1 power in the other world, and I, Lu Cheng, a regular guy who crossed over into a gorilla, finally lived the life I always wanted. Every morning, I was dragged out of bed by Su Qingyu, ate breakfast made by my mom, bickered a bit with my dad, and then headed to the power plant to charge up, checking in on the fire giant to see if he was slacking. At noon, I would grab lunch with Little Black Dragon, listening to him vent about the weirdos on dating apps. In the afternoon, I would patrol the dragon theme park, teasing the golden dragon being ridden by kids. At night, I would go home and snuggle on the couch with Su Qingyu to watch a movie. She would lean on my arm and say my arm was cozier than a pillow. I would tell her, of course. This arm used to be 400 meters long, as thick as your house. She would roll her eyes at me, give my arm a little pinch, and say, can you stop bringing up the fact that you used to be a gorilla? I would just laugh and stay quiet. One night, I was standing on the roof of the base, looking at the brightly lit city in the distance, and outside the city, that vast expanse connecting to the other world. Su Qingyu had climbed up at some point, standing right next to me. She was wearing high heels today, but she still only reached my chest. She looked up at me and asked, what are you thinking about? I said, I am thinking about when I first crossed over and became a gorilla. I was so hungry I lay on the ground unable to move, bullied by wild beasts, all alone in the wilderness, thinking I was doomed for this life. Back then, I stood by a cliff and shouted into the valley, I do not want to be a gorilla. I want to go home. I want to eat my mom's braised pork. Su Qingyu listened quietly, not saying a word. He continued. Later, down by the river. I saw that bamboo raft with Made in Shia stamped on it. My tears just fell instantly, because I knew as long as I found Shia, he could finally go home. Su Qingyu gently grasped my hand. I looked down at her and said, now I am back, and I got my braised pork. And I even got a girlfriend. Although this girlfriend has a sharp tongue, a bit of a temper, and pinches me all the time. Overall, she is still pretty great. Su Qingyu glared at me, but the corners of her mouth turned up. She said, Lu Cheng, do you ever want to turn back into a normal person? I thought about it, shook my head and said, nah, not anymore. 35 meters is pretty good. Convenient for fighting, convenient for charging, and most importantly, convenient for holding you. Su Qingyu burst into laughter, then stood on her tiptoes and planted a kiss on my chin. This was already her second time kissing my chin, because she really could not reach anywhere else. After the kiss, she said, then I guess it stays like this. 35 meters it is. I'm already used to looking up at you anyway. My neck's even got muscles now. I laughed out loud, then bent down and scooped her right up, lifting her to my eye level. That way she did not have to look up anymore. She was startled for a moment, then wrapped her arms around my neck, buried her face in my shoulder, and whispered softly, Lu Cheng, thank you for coming back alive. I held her, looking at the starry sky far away. Beneath the stars was the brilliantly lit city. Outside the city was the vast land of the other world. On that land, there were dragons, there were elves, there were dwarves, and countless other world races doing business with Shea. And right at the very center of this land, there was a 35-meter giant, holding a 16-meter little lady, standing on a rooftop letting the evening breeze blow. I did not say thank you, and I did not say anything cheesy. I just muttered in my deep voice, let us go. Let us go down and eat. Your mom made braised pork. Su Qingyu lifted her head from my shoulder, looking disgusted. It is your mom who made it, not my mom. I have not even married you yet. I smiled and said it is only a matter of time. She pinched my arm again, but did not argue. The moonlight spilled down, stretching our two shadows very long, one big, one small, walking side by side, and then disappearing around the corner of the stairwell. This is my story. An ordinary guy who crossed over into a gorilla, went through countless hardships to return to his homeland, and grew from a clueless newbie into one of the strongest entities in the other world. He protected my country, my family, and the person I love. Of course, I have not forgotten that version of me standing by the cliff, crying and screaming to go home, because it is exactly that desperate version of myself that makes the present me cherish everything I have now so deeply. If you ask me what it feels like to cross over and become a gorilla, I would tell you it was really hard, but it was worth it, because no matter what you turn into, as long as you keep home in your heart,